Today I'm sitting down with Elle to talk about one of our favorite movies, the iconic 10 Things I Hate About You. We're going to dissect our favorite scenes, quotes, shots, and songs while seeking to truly understand why this movie had such an impact on both of us. From its Shakespearean origins to the screenplay, cast, and random details like the history of the real-life school in which it was shot, we'll leave no stone unturned in this exhaustive analysis of one of the best rom-coms of all time.
But for now, sit back, relax, and welcome to my film club. So, Elle, welcome to Dom's Film Club.
Thank you.
Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite movies, and I believe one of your favorite movies,
Yeah.
10 Things I Hate About You.
Yeah.
So, let's start off with our relationship with this movie. When did you first see it? What sort of age were you? What context? Just tell us about it.
I think most people know this movie is based on Taming of the Shrew. And I studied English Lit. So I can't actually remember if it was in secondary school or if it was in college. But at some point the teachers were like, to get you on board with this kind of weird play, we're going to show you this version of Taming of the Shrew filmed in an American high school. So that was when I first discovered it.
So you watched it at school the first time?
We watched it in class.
That's awesome.
And it was probably, across two classes, so a bit disjointed. And then I think later on, maybe more so post-uni sort of time, it became quite a nostalgic film that I quite enjoyed just because of the 90s vibes. So I kind of rediscovered it and then rewatched it. It became a bit of a comfort film. But first off, from English.
So when you first watched it, it wasn't immediately like, I love this movie.
No, it was like, because, you're watching it in class,
not
everyone's
cool to watch
talking,
it,
it's like, it's not really a thing. And then also it's in two parts, so you can't get the full effect. So it wasn't until I ended up rewatching it that I really thought, oh my God, this is a...
And so the rewatches you said was at uni?
This would have been post-uni, sometime in London probably. I mean, I lived with two big film guys when I first moved to London. One of whom loves a rom-com. So I think we probably watched it together at some point, and I was like, wow, That's
great. A lot of them, especially male people who are really into movies, don't love rom-coms as much as others. They're a bit snobs, but I love a rom-com.
I love a rom-com, and we also saw the new Bridget Jones film together recently, so he still loves rom-coms.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, mine was and the interesting thing is that when you first saw it, it was probably quite a few years after it had come out, and then obviously when you really got into it was probably more than 10 years after it came out, because it came out in 1999.
Yeah.
And I only discovered it when I was, I think, around 16, 17, which would have been 5 or 6 years after, because actually the flat in which I remember watching this over and over with my group of friends was also the same flat where we found out Heath Ledger died. So it was that same 1 or 2 year period where we really got into this, and then he died on us, which was just so heartbreaking.
Sad. And I think it makes the film kind of, I don't know, even more nostalgic in a way, because you look back at it, I think it's one of his first roles or something.
His first American role. Technically been 2 Australian roles before. Yeah, his first. Yeah.
And he's just a little baby in it, and it's like...
We did Bicentennial Man recently, so that's that. Now I watched that only in the last year or so for the podcast, and even though it wasn't considered a good movie at the time, seeing Robin Williams in a very Robin Williams role, I was just like, oh, we've lost another one of the greats.
Yeah.
So my experience was a group of friends. I don't remember the first time we watched it, but I just know it was a very eclectic group, and it was me, a gay guy, and a group of girls, and we all loved the movie, and we would watch it together and would quote it to each other, and we loved the music and just loved everything about it. So for me, it's very much tied to that very specific period in time. It was also a time where I was going through some heartache and watching movies like that, and some of the songs were really meaningful for me. Yeah. So it was just something that at a particular time in my life, and again, it's not as though it came out at that time, because I was 9 when the movie came out, and I was 16, 17 when I went through all this, but I watched it a lot then. I think it's probably something that I've rewatched at least every couple of years. It is, Elle, you're honored to be... That sounds really douchey.
Do it again. No, I loved it.
You have the honor of being the first person to do one of the poster movies. So I didn't buy this poster for the podcast. And obviously, we've done lots of movies with different posters in the background, but this is the first one of the posters that I own that we're doing. So that just tells
Honestly,
you...
I feel very honored to have this. I mean, and I love it. It's beautiful, The blank white background. It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
And the fashion, every time I look at this poster, I was like, oh, the fashion is just so iconic / terrible / And we're going to
so
talk,
good.
actually, I watched an interview with the costume designer, and it was super interesting just to hear. Everything she's saying makes sense. I just thought, I'd never thought about that. But yeah, because that's the thing I love about movies. Nothing's by accident. Everything
Yeah.
from the music to what they're wearing to the camera angles to the locations.
Yeah.
And in a well-made movie. And this is a perfect example of a really well-made movie. It's a great script, it's great actors, it's funny, but it's meaningful. It's just got all the ingredients for a great rom-com. And at the end, we'll talk about where this ranks for us all time. But you know what? I'm going to spoil it up front and say that this is my favorite rom-com.
Well, that's what I thought as well, because when you come to like favorite movies, it's such a big question. But when it comes to rom-coms, this is definitely up there.
Because I love rom-coms, but a lot of rom-coms are bad, even
Yeah.
if you enjoy them. And then because I'm crafting my top 100 as we go through this podcast,
Right.
so that I can say where this movie ranks. There's only one or two other rom-coms in my full top 100, because lots of movies that I love, but I think especially a lot of them don't age well. A movie like Wedding Crashers, which I used to love when I was younger, I still like it, but the more I watch it, and especially as I have the pleasure of dissecting all these great movies, I just think, I like a bit of a movie and then I don't like another one, but this one is great
Yeah.
from beginning to end. So it's great to see that we feel similarly about it. Some of the numbers. So the movie came out in 1999. It was filmed over 2 months in the summer of 1998. It made $54 million off a $13 million budget, so it was considered commercially success, but nothing crazy. But it developed what's on Wikipedia says developed a cult following over time, and is considered objectively one of the best rom-coms of all time. Did you know it was rebooted as a TV show?
No.
Yeah,
What?
2009,
No.
2010. Yeah, there's 2 seasons. Well, it's technically 1 season, but 2 batch of 10 episodes. So I watched the pilot because I was like, oh, this is amazing. I think it was probably a year or 2 after I watched it for the first time. It's fine, but it's just not the same.
You can't capture the magic of the
No.
original, but I mean, who's even in it?
So, do you watch Succession?
Oh no, I don't. I know I need to. I know that's terrible, but I have
Do
to see
you
it.
do you vaguely know some of the actors in it? There's the
Maybe?
really tall younger guy called Cousin Greg.
Okay.
He is the main guy. He plays Cameron in 10 Things I Hate About You,
Right.
which is he wasn't famous back then, but he's so tall. He's about my height and he's super lanky in high school, and it's just really weird having him in the role of Cameron, who's supposed to be this sort of scrawny kid.
Yeah.
He's still a dork in it, but yeah, it didn't quite work. There's one actor who reprised their role. Do you want to guess who it
I
is?
do. Oh my gosh. So Joey.
It
I
wasn't
don't
any of the
know.
kids, because
None of
obviously
the kids.
because it was 10 years
was
later.
it Mr. Miller?
Yeah,
Was
the
it?
dad. Yeah.
Yes.
Mr.
Oh,
Miller's
Mr. Walter. Okay. So Mr. Miller's the teacher.
That's just the Morgan. Oh,
is it
Mr.
Mr.
Morgan is
Mr.
the
Morgan.
black teacher.
Is the teacher?
That's
yeah.
Mr.
Yeah.
Morgan.
Okay. But it was Mr. Walter. Oh,
So
wasn't Mr.
it was the dad.
Yeah. It's
So the dad reprised his role.
The dad is the most iconic character.
Adults,
Yeah.
Don't know if you came across this in your research, but if not, can you guess the IMDb and then the Rotten Tomatoes score for both the critics and the reviews? Start with IMDb.
IMDb. It's got to be pretty high, like an 8,
7.3.
7.3.
So solid, but not. It's in that kind of middling. There's some bad stuff that's around 7, and the really good stuff is sort of 8.2, 8.3 plus. So
yeah,
it's
that feels mean. I feel like.
yeah, but it's not for everyone. I think it's very particular to our generation. I can't imagine anyone a lot older than us feeling really strongly about this movie.
Yeah.
And I'll be very curious to know what a young person today would think about it. I think they would still enjoy it because it does have the whole retro 90s thing, and the 90s are back in apparently.
Yeah, the
As a-
90s are back. I mean, I guess it is very straight as a movie. So maybe
Straight-
that's something.
Straight in what? Oh, you mean
all
as
of the
in-
relationships
Right,
in it
yeah.
are obviously like straight
Oh yeah, there isn't
relationships.
anyone.
So I think that's maybe a flaw about it that now we might.
Oh
look
yeah,
back
you would
on,
definitely
you
have
know.
either one character being gay or trans.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
You'd have a more varied kind of school. Yeah, I guess in that way.
So the Rotten Tomatoes reviews and audience. So the key is always guessing whether they're the same, whether one's higher or lower.
I think the audience is going to be higher. I think it's got to be in the 90s. Come on, that's 92, 93.
For the audience, you guess.
Yeah.
69.
What? 69?
I know.
Why?
And the reviewers?
I've lost all confidence now. Maybe like, I don't know, maybe like 70. No, 75.
71.
Okay.
Which is still good. But
I'm furious.
Yeah.
This film.
It's fine. It's still considered a cult following. But yeah, it's for people who love it, and no one's going to watch it that doesn't love it. So, you know what? It's their loss if they don't appreciate it.
It's their loss. Yeah, screw them.
It's an hour 37, which I really like.
Yeah.
It's a nice, tight movie. And we'll talk about this in the characters and stuff. I even think it could be shorter. I think there's 7-8 minutes because most of it is absolute gold. But there's a couple. Basically, because so much of it is excellent, I feel like anytime something's not excellent, I think they could have just gotten rid of that because you don't need it to make everything else work.
Yeah, it is. I do love an hour and a half runtime. I think it's ideal.
So the last question for you before we cross the spoiler line, because I like to do this. So far, we haven't said anything about the story. Anyone could listen to this and decide to either go watch for the first time if they've missed out on this life-changing movie, or maybe you haven't watched the movie in a while and you want to go and you want to watch it before we talk about every part of it. But before we do that, who would you recommend this movie to? What kind of person and what kind of mood would they have to be in for you to say, go home and watch 10 Things I Hate About You?
I mean, it's tough. I think, as you say, maybe the older generation, it might not appeal so well to. I do think if you're young, if you're looking for relationships, I think it's really good. And I also think, you know what, around the age of 30, I think it has kind of come back round, because I think a big part of it is thinking about what is the kind of person you want to be and what really matters to you, what's really important. And maybe those are some of the questions you ask in like your 20s and like early 30s. So I think it's good for that. I think boys and girls, or men and women, I should probably say, can enjoy this. I think it's really accessible.
And what sort of mood?
What sort of mood? I think it's a chick flick mood for sure, and I say that in a good way. But I think also it does have a bit of a heart to it. It's got some like vulnerable emotions in there as well, which I love. So you know what? Maybe on your period, this is going to be really good.
There you go, the perfect period movie.
But also, like, you know, friends around, fun movie. It's good for that too.
Yeah, and from a guy's point of view, I'll say it is. I mean, you would have to be a very particular type of friend for two guys to watch it together. So watch it with your girlfriend, watch it with your female friends. Yeah, I think it is it's definitely a fun one to watch with people who are already familiar with it, and if you both are. I think if you haven't watched it before, probably watch it once by yourself.
Yeah.
To catch up, and then watch it with friends. I think that's it. It's a good hang movie.
It's a hangout. This movie is a great hangout.
All right, so that is now the spoiler line. So from now on, everything we say, in 2 minutes we might talk about how the movie ends. So you've been warned. You can go on. It's on Disney Plus because it is technically a Disney movie, and it should stay there forever. So that's easy. Go watch it on Disney Plus now. Come back, continue the podcast. The most important part of any movie, I always say, is the entertainment value, because I don't care if it's a great script. I don't care if it's got Daniel Day-Lewis winning an Oscar. If it's boring, then that's a problem. And so this movie is not boring. And so what would you say? What's the first type of entertainment value you'd say you get from this movie?
Well, I think it's funny because I think when I remember this movie, if I think about it, and I haven't seen it in a while, it's the funny moments that I gravitate to like instantly. And it's got some really iconic funny moments in it. I think we'll probably talk about them later, but it's got some fantastic one-liners. It's got a really great script. The side characters in it are like somehow absolutely hilarious and like just as enjoyable as some of the main characters that we spend more time with. And then I think it also is great at exploring, as I said, some of those like funny, deep emotions that you're experiencing. It's great. Like the sibling dynamics in it, I think, are really well done. The family dynamics, and then the friend dynamics as well, I think, are really well explored.
Yeah.
So I think that's great entertainment factor.
When I was going through the quotes last night and doing my final prep, obviously I knew it was funny, but just every other line is a banger.
Yeah.
Every scene you laugh about something, and some of the stuff is, obvious funny, like the dick drawing on the face. Sometimes it can be, super intellectual jokes about some references, like all the feminist book references and stuff are really good. So yeah, it's an amazing script. It's funny, but yeah, I love the heart in it. You really care about the characters. You really feel as though the actors cared about what they were doing, that no one's phoning it in and like, yeah, this is just another stupid movie. So yeah. It's considered IMDb listed as a rom-com / drama, and I do like the fact that it isn't just a rom-com, that it is a drama, because I would say it's 90% the rom-com, but especially at the end when shit hitteth the fan,
shit hath hitteth the faneth.
Then the drama does get real. Obviously, it is still it's still privileged white kids dealing with all that. So it's not exactly the end of the world, as Mr. Morgan makes very clear at the beginning. And that's, I think, stuff like that, or even though the main 3-4 are all white, obviously in the main cast there's a little bit of diversity. The school is actually quite diverse.
The school is quite diverse.
Yeah, for the 90s that was pretty good. And then but I think it's okay, this is one bit we haven't said yet. I think it's very much ahead of its time, because this movie could have aged terribly. This representation of a feminist character could be really cringy. Either it could have been over the top, like she could have been burning her bra and hating men, but her feminism never translates into hating men. Her hatred for men comes from other things that we'll talk about. But I think it's aged very well, because at the same time it does acknowledge, like the teacher's saying about, let's just be clear, you're all privileged white kids and you don't have any real problems.
100%. And that's actually, I think, a really nice parallel with The Taming of the Shrew, the play, because one reading of that play is that character that she's based on being this kind of irrational man-hating thing. But a more complex reading of the play is her kind of reacting and not... another reading of the play is her not standing for some of the misogyny she's experiencing in society. And Shakespeare was kind of quite forward-thinking with some of his female characters. So I feel like she is a really nice embodiment of, sometimes she's a little harsh, sometimes she's a little mean. But she's calling things out, and I think she has aged like really well as a character. And I also think maybe another thing that's nice about this movie is, it's low stakes, because it's a high school.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that makes it nice to return to, because it's like, high emotions, low stakes, I think is really nice for the kind of world we're living in right now.
And it's hard to do, because the reason why movies always have high stakes is because that's usually what you need to get people involved. So it takes a really particular script writing skill to make something feel, even though you're like, actually, this isn't that important. Yeah. If the worst case scenario is some people have their heart broken, but you know what? Going back to my experience, at that age, the age of the characters and stuff, having your heart broken does feel like the worst thing in the world.
It does.
And especially when you've got that soundtrack playing in the background, you think, oh my God, the world is ending.
The soundtrack is so good. I think that does really contribute as well to the entertainment factor.
Yeah. You talked about Taming of the Shrew. So I tried to read it, and it's Shakespeare, so it is quite hard to read. I got very confused. Anyway, I have not read Taming of the Shrew.
Yeah.
I read the synopsis. I watched some videos about it, so I'm aware. But obviously, you read it and studied it. So do you want to just tell us a bit more about what's based on it? Just tell us about the relationship between the movie and the play.
I can tell you a bit about it. I'm going to say I'm not an expert. I studied this.
You're the resident expert.
I'm the resident expert. Yeah, I'm the resident Shakespeare expert. But yeah, Taming of the Shrew, it is one of his weirder plays, and it's not done that much at the Globe or whatever, because it is a little strange. Something about it which is quite odd is the end monologue, which I'll talk about, which is can be taken either way, but can feel like a really strange ending. But the premise of that play in general is you have Cameron's character, I'll refer to them by their 10 things I hate about you names, who is in love with Bianca, who's the daughter of this wealthy nobleman in town. But the nobleman won't allow her to be married until her older sister is married. And maybe this is kind of a cultural thing. It was kind of, I guess, a little bit more normal back in those days to marry off the older siblings first. But he comes up with this plot, and he gets this kind of vagabond, strange guy in from another town, which is Patrick.
Is he a vagabond? I thought he was a noble.
He's a nobleman, but he's very weird. He's very kind of out there.
Right.
He comes riding on a horse, and he's basically saying, all I want is I'm here to find a wife, make some money. That's all I'm doing here. And he's very kind of blasé. He's a bit of an interesting guy. But Cameron convinces him to try and go for Kat, or Kate, she is in that version. And in the meantime, he's going to pretend to be Bianca's kind of music teacher. Yeah. So he goes and, Patrick goes to the nobleman, and he tries to woo Kate. There's a big kind of thing in this version where everybody is quite kind of afraid of her and a little bit treats her with kid gloves. And he kind of blasts in, doesn't take any of it, and basically forces her to come and marry him. They go through this relationship where they both kind of start to compromise a little bit more. And then towards the end, she makes this speech about the qualities of a good wife and what it means to be a good wife. And it ends on her kind of accepting, if you like, the values of being a good wife. But there's a lot of other stuff in it which comes around, how women are treated at the time, which again, Shakespeare's really good at highlighting maybe how women are treated unfairly in some societies. It comes back to, maybe a little bit about how much do you agree to play the game of society and fit in with the roles that you're given in society, when do you choose to play that game and when do you choose not to, and what are the benefits of doing either of those?
Yeah, so this is what I read that differs. Is some people see it at face value and say it's a misogynistic play about a woman who gets broken in basically by her husband and taught to become his tamed wife.
Yeah.
But then the other one I read on Cliff Notes was saying that exactly what you just said there, that it is much more about that they both to fulfill the roles society expects of them to get what they need, but actually it's just a facade. Because the whole ending thing is how the three men call their wives and who comes quickly, and she comes fastest. And some people see, oh, she's this,
she's the only one who comes.
Yeah. But you're saying that what it's actually showing is that makes him look good, which is better for both of them.
It's kind of more like she comes because she's fallen in love with him and he asks for her and she comes. And it's like more of a partnership. And I think there's one reading of her speech which is much more around, in our partnership, you are doing these things, I'm doing these things, and we're working together. The other men, they also try and call their wives and they don't come at all. But I think the point that she's making is that I love you and, and we're going to work together. So
she does, but he does break her by starving her and stuff like that.
There's a couple of weird bits, yeah. And I think so. I watched an abridged version of it last night just to remember some of the scenes. And yeah, I feel like there's a lot of Shakespeare does have a lot of weird scenes in lots of his plays where it's kind of a bit confusing and a bit odd. Yeah, I don't have much of an answer for it. I think there's definitely some weird moments in it.
But so yeah, the premise of the play, well, the first act or two, and then of the movie are very similar. So I actually when I was rewatching it, I thought actually the plot in the movie does get a bit complicated with people double-crossing who in the plan and stuff.
Yeah.
But then when I watched the summary of the play, it's way more complicated there because Joey is actually two different characters put together. There's two other guys. Then there's the whole thing with the dowry and impersonating the character of Cameron's based on impersonating his father and pretending that there's a dowry. So it does get, I mean, it's Shakespeare. So it's a 5 act. Is it 5 acts?
I mean, I think so. I mean, if you think about, I think Twelfth Night is the other one that has a bunch of people pretending to be one another, crossing over. This is a very Shakespeare thing to do. I think even in 10 Things I Hate About You, I think it does get a bit confusing at some points towards the end where you're like, wait,
who knows what? Yeah.
Who knows what? Who should be mad at who here for what has transpired?
Yeah. But so, yeah, it was interesting to see the play is even more complicated. But yes, they take the same premise of the dad wanting both to be basically, you can't date unless she dates, you can't marry unless she's married. But then I think from then on, it goes off into its own direction. All the stuff you're saying about how the partnership and place in society, you could say those themes are evoked, but it does become much more about romance and personal identity and, satisfying expectations, stuff like that. Which actually, I guess you probably can tie back to the play, but it kind of goes off into its own thing in the second half of the movie.
I think it does. I think there's something similar there in the way that both... Patrick and Kat kind of soften over the course of the movie towards each other.
But I guess the plot points of, for example, them, like there's never anything in the play, is there, about her finding out that he did all of this because it's part of a plan?
No, it's not. No, I don't think so. I think in the play that was more just,
obviously a given.
That was setting up the scenario of how he's going to tame the shrew.
Yeah.
Whereas here, in this one, I think that is a really important thing to look at, between them, because it's a total betrayal.
Yeah. I was, the other day, unrelated to this, I was thinking about the common traits between pretty much all rom-coms, and I realized the two biggest things are two people who initially feel like they'll never be together. Look at any rom-com, and it seems like such a niche thing, but every rom-com is that. It's two people. Like, you look anything from When Harry Met Sally to The Notebook to Wedding Crashers, Titanic. whether where they're at in society, or their personalities or whatever, you think, well, those two people can never get together, and then they end up being together. You'll never have a rom-com that's about two people who seem like they were meant to be together and then end up together. And then the other thing is, there's usually some sort of secret that has to be revealed, because you need the drama, because you need the thing where everything goes well and then some person finds out about the thing and then everything goes to shit and they forgive them or not. So obviously that's quintessential here, which I think is important. Something to be the greatest rom-com, it needs to really satisfy some of those criteria, which it absolutely does.
It has to hit those tropes, and I think it does it in a really good way, though.
So now we're going to go through the plot. So I want to start off with the first detail is I love the graphics for the credits. It's that
Oh my
graffiti,
gosh.
which is
Yeah.
so 90s TV show. I mean, I think it looks like it is actually some of the TV shows we used to watch as kids. That's exactly what the
Yeah.
logos looked like.
It feels like Nickelodeon,
Exactly.
90s vibes, scratchy text. It's so perfect.
Yeah, we'll talk about the music later in the production, but it starts off with the cat and the versus the. Those aren't particular characters; they're just four random,
Yeah.
basic beautifuls. I guess
They're
would be their
basic
categories.
beautifuls.
And yeah, I actually realized this yesterday that nothing apart from just her looking over, nothing actually happens in that first shot. But immediately is like I think what's important about that is it tells you she is the main character
Yeah.
of the movie.
She's the main character, but she's also an outsider. I
Yes.
think is what that
Yeah.
also does.
And they get, you're 1 minute in and you've already got two. Some people say, oh, that first song is like crap. I actually like both songs, and I just think they're a really good
I think I
comparison.
put both on my list.
Then we get introduced to the school, which I hate it when people say this because it becomes such a cliche, but the school is really a character in the movie.
The school is its own character.
But it really is in this case. Obviously, we'll talk. Do you know anything about the school? Like why it looks that way?
Well, I know that they didn't build any set for it. They just
Yeah,
filmed
that is
it
a
all
real
on that
school.
location,
But yeah.
which is awesome.
Later on, I'll tell you how that school came to be because it is a real school that people actually go to school in. But yeah, I'll tell you about that later. So then we get to the school and we get Miss Perky.
Miss Perky, she's amazing.
Yeah.
And she's barely in it. She's in
Yeah,
it for like
2 scenes.
Two
I counted
scenes.
it. But I think she's in 2 early on, so you get the sense that she's an important character. She's very useful at introducing the characters. So she sits down with Cameron and then Patrick in that first scene, and later on she talks to Kat and she helps characterize them all. One of the things I realized in this last week rewatching it, something so important about that first scene with her when she's with Cameron. It's very important to set the stage that this movie and this school are weird. That don't come in here because I've seen things online about, well, this wouldn't happen in a high school. It's like that doesn't matter. This isn't meant to be a realistic high school. This is it's not sci-fi, but this is meant to be a slightly quirky, like almost a multiverse thing where this is a slightly alternate reality where weird things happen. In particular, her, because she's so weird.
she's so weird. Just typing away on her little erotic novel in the school, in her office.
And she doesn't care. And she says a few words and she lets people get off with whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's great. Can
I ask on her? One thing about her is, I don't know if you saw the bloopers.
Yes.
Do you think that's a deleted scene? Because there's a blooper where, Kat and Bianca are walking down a corridor, they turn a corner. This isn't in the movie, so I don't know what this is from. Miss Perky is just there, making out aggressively with one of the other teachers.
That's actually the director. But I'll tell you more about that when we talk about the director. Because it makes a lot more sense once you understand the context, because otherwise it is
It's
very
so
random.
strange.
Well, especially because the director, is not in the rest of the movie as a
No.
teacher. I'll tell you that.
Okay, I can't wait.
Then we have Michael meeting Cameron. I love it's just one of those funny bits. It's like, usually they send the audiovisual nerd and then he has to shoo the thing away. Then the school briefing, so kind of the intro with the basic beautifuls, the Rastas, the Cowboys, the future MBAs, and the Coffee Kids, and then Bianca, and I guess Chastity by association that don't even think about it.
I mean, this is crazy though, because when did Mean Girls come out?
So,
because that scene is so similar
That's
to
exactly
the Mean
what I
Girls
was thinking
cafeterias.
about. So Mean Girls came out in 2004, I think, which if it had been a couple years earlier, sometimes, movies take years to be made, but it's definitely inspired by this. I do actually think that the Mean Girls one, which one do you think is better?
It's so hard because I think the way that this one does it in 10 Things I Hate About You, everything's so odd in that.
Exactly, it's
and
weird.
It's really disarming, and they're really strange groups.
Yes.
Like the coffee heads. Why is that
Well, I think the cowboy ones is the most random. It's like, what?
The cowboys, and it's like, why are they here? They're all like lassoing something in the quad,
the bin.
the bin, and like the Mean Girls one, I think it makes more sense.
It's more,
more
so I
grounded.
think the Mean Girls one is better, but this one is just so 10 Things I Hate About You. It's weird, and the idea, it's almost a trope now. I'm pretty sure it's been done in, obviously Mean Girls is the most famous one, but I think it's been done in other high school rom-coms. But it's just such a good way of setting the scene, and everyone can relate to it because everyone has been to high school, and all high schools have some version of some of these groups. Maybe not specifically white Rastas, but although in France growing up, we definitely had the potheads who all dressed as hippies and stuff like that.
Yeah, we definitely had the hippies, some of whom were white and had dreads. There you go.
So if you had to fit, when you were in high school, if you had to fit into one of those groups, which one would you have been?
You know what? This is actually, I feel like this is embarrassing because we did drink a lot of coffee. We were going to coffee shops in like, you know, end of secondary school, college. We were going to coffee shops and hanging around because we couldn't go to bars or anything. So that's just where we would hang out in Cafe Nero, having loads of full-on Americanos. And I don't know why.
So you were a coffee kid?
I think I was a coffee head. I wish I'd been a cowboy. I don't think I was.
It's distant, but the closest one I guess I would have fit in is the future NBA ones.
The future NBA, that's the one you want to be in, I feel like, you know.
I don't know.
You have to wear a beige cardigan.
Yeah, and you have to be Bogey Levenstein's bitch, apparently.
Yes.
He runs that group like with an iron fist.
He does, and he's also such a weird character. He's hilarious.
Yeah. He's actually, I didn't even think about him even as a secondary character, but he comes up a lot.
Yeah.
But he's one of those, he's part of the fabric of the movie. And yeah, he's just very funny, and I love that I guess he's a secondary character, and he's part of the Michael backstory.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's funny. Then we have Class with we meet Mr. Morgan. Mm-hmm. I mean, to be fair, the dad is more than just a background character. He's one of the main characters. When I was doing this list, there's a lot of scenes that take place at the house. There's like 5 or 6 home scenes that are all important. But in terms of, well, who do you think is funnier, Miss Perky or Mr. Morgan?
It's so hard because I think they're both brilliant in their own way. I think Miss Perky maybe is slightly funnier just because she's so unexpected. But I think Mr. Morgan's got some amazing lines. Yeah, especially some of the stuff he says to Joey.
Yes,
it's great.
Yeah. One day you're gonna get bitch slapped, and I'm not gonna do a thing in the world to stop it.
I'm not gonna do a thing to stop it. And I love that.
I think it happens in this scene. So we meet Joey there. Yeah. Perfect segue.
Yeah.
So obviously we've met Cap. I think this is the first time. I think we've seen her walk through the school, but this is her first proper scene with the teacher, Joey. Then Kat gets sent to Miss Berkey because Mr. Morgan says, "You're just pissing me off." Yeah, he's someone that when I was looking at the filmographies of everyone in it, I'm surprised he didn't do anything notable after this, but he's so funny.
It's such a shame.
So then after that, Joey places it's not really a bet, it's more of a dare with his friends that I'm gonna bet her. Cameron, it's all in the same scene in the.
They're kind of just wandering around.
It's in the schoolyard. I think it's even the same shot. It goes from one group to another, which is very realistic of how Recess is.
Which I did have a background character that I noticed on this rewatch that I've never noticed before.
Oh, really?
And it's when Joey is chatting to his mate about how much he wants Bianca. Behind him, one of the cowboys is eating like a tin of beans with a spoon, like totally raw. And it's like, it's just so odd because he's just in the background. He's not even part of it.
But this, you were saying, why do they have the cowboys? I think because it just adds, and also the cowboys at the party later on, you see them spitting in the really fancy crystals or whatever. It's just like they have quite a lot of ongoing gags. So there's that one. There's obviously the PE teacher who keeps getting beaten up and shot at. We'll talk about that one later. But yeah, so Cameron basically says, I'm in love with her. I think there he probably used at least one line from Shakespeare.
They use one which feels very Shakespeare, which something's like, I burn, I pine, I perish.
I think he says it there.
Yeah.
Then we have the parking lot, which I on this rewatch I was like, what is the point of that one? But it's just setting in motion the dynamics between different characters. Of basically Joey does his first attempt with Bianca is asking to give her the ride, but I love that immediately he goes, whoa, watch out for the leather.
Yeah, don't sit on the seats. Yeah.
You already knew he was a dipshit because you knew he was a horrible character because of his motives, but it also shows that he's like shallow. Then the Michael's motorbike scene where he goes off, which I think is a great shot of him going off. And I think it's the first time you see the stadium, which is almost as ridiculously cool as the school.
Yeah, I mean, it's just such a strange moment, though, because it never happens again, I feel like.
No, so I have an explanation for this, I think. When I was watching the behind the scenes, the director, who we'll talk about later, who's a man, so it's written by 2 women who we'll talk about in the script part about how amazing and what great writers they are. But it was then directed by this man who was a bit older, and apparently the women said they were very happy with him. It seems like they had a very collaborative experience, but he added a few things which they referred to as a sort of guy humor, because that's one of the great things about this is obviously it's going to appeal more to women because the genre of rom-coms is more focused on women, but this is pretty much maybe 60-40, but there's a lot of stuff from men. There's how men's experience of being in love with a woman, men's rejection, And then I think the director really wanted that, so he added some stuff, some storylines, and some scenes that were supposed to appeal to men. And I do think the motorbike prank, they specifically said the motorbike prank was an example of something that he added. But then there's a couple of other things that I've noted, which I think are things that he added. But the motorbike scene, the writers definitely said, yeah, that wasn't in the script. He just decided to do that.
It makes total sense, because I feel like I don't think there's even any lines in that bit. It's just him suddenly flying off the side of this hill. I mean, it's a great moment, but it's one of those really unexpected things in this movie where you're like,
if you haven't watched it in 10 years, you go, oh yeah, I've forgotten that happened. But his motorbike is a recurring I think it comes up at least again when he goes to the bar and he's with the bikers, which is just visually funny. So then we get to the Stratford home, Stratford being
where Shakespeare is from, Stratford-upon-Avon.
Yeah, there's a lot of references. I guess we'll do it because the main thing is the names of the characters. So obviously Patrick, what's the name of the characters?
It's something like,
it's a fancy version of Patrick. Patrocles or something.
I don't. Yeah.
But he's from Verona, so Patrick Verona.
Yeah.
The Cameron name is completely different, isn't it?
Totally different. I think it begins with an H or something.
Kat is Catherine. Bianca is Bianca. She's the only one. The school is called Padua, and they really there's actually, it's not just signs, it seems to be carved into the side of the school. So I don't know how they did that, but obviously they faked it. But yeah, Padua is where is the town in the play, right, that it takes place.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, Stratford is a good one as well. So we meet the dad, Mr. Stratford, the Sarah Lawrence acceptance, the who drove you home. I love that bit where he's like, don't distract me, who drove you home?
Wait, who drove you home? Yeah,
and brilliant. This is where we get introduced to the rules.
Yeah.
You can't date until she dates. Yeah. So it was no dating until graduation.
Yeah.
And then he changes it to you don't date till she dates. And I love when she says that could be forever. And he's like, yes, I like this. he's like, so
even better. He's such a great character. He's so paranoid, so weird, but you immediately got on board with him and you kind of empathize with him.
I was trying to remember this rewatch how I felt as a younger person in terms of who I sided with, because I feel like you always kind of side with the dad. And I was thinking about why, and I think it's because we know, and so that always made me sort of dislike the Bianca character, but I've analyzed it a lot more now, and I have a lot more empathy for her. I actually watched this really good video talk about all the dynamics, and so I still love Kat, but I feel like I understand Bianca's side more, which makes me be a bit annoyed with Kat, but all in a healthy way.
I totally agree. I think when you first watch it, maybe a few years ago when I first watched it, I was like, Bianca's so annoying, she's so spoiled. But actually, I think she's got some pretty good points.
She's kind of she's the most normal person in there. And
in this madhouse of a family.
Yeah. But I think one of the reasons why you side with the dad is because you know that she wants to go out with Joey. And obviously you know, because you've seen the bet, that Joey's a complete dipshit. So us, like Kat, I think that's it. We feel like Kat, we want to protect Bianca from Joey because we know that he's a dipshit, but she doesn't actually know it for a fact. But she finds it out, not to get ahead of ourselves, but that's one of the best things about her, that you realize that as soon as she's exposed to him for more than a few minutes, she immediately realizes how shallow and stupid he is, which obviously is what she needed to go through.
And I love that someone doesn't tell her. I love that she decides that for herself.
Yes, yeah. Then we get, and again, this movie's really well paced because it's just bang, 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 character. Things are in motion. Next, you get the French tutor scene. So you're 15 minutes in, but you've already met everyone except for we've met Patrick with Miss Perky, but he's not part of the plot yet. But yeah, French tutor. Bianca manipulates Cameron to find a date for Kat so that she can go out with Joey. And one interesting point here, Cameron at one point asks, like, what's up with your sister? And she says, almost as a throwaway line, oh yeah, she used to be kind of popular, and then one day she sort of decided not to be. And you don't realize that the first 4 or 5 times, but obviously that's really important.
It's so important, and I think it's that Kat's kind of like humanizing Kat, I think, happens more and more throughout this movie the further you get along. But that line is so easy to just not really notice.
You wouldn't the first few times. And even I didn't get around to it, but I wanted to, it's only a couple of points, but it's very important to actually recreate the last 3 or 4 years and understand how old people were at what point and when things happened before the movie. So specifically what happened between her and Joey, and so the fact that she was obviously a lot younger even than Bianca is now. Bianca was probably in the previous school, so she wasn't around. And yeah, I think it's because Kat is meant to be, Kat, Patrick, Joey are all 17, 18. I think they specifically say that Kat is 18 now, but she was probably 14, 15 when she slept with Joey. So yeah, very.
Yeah, which totally changes, I think. I mean, you already don't like him because
Yeah.
he comes across awful. But I think once you realise that aspect of him as well, it becomes even worse, and you understand Kat wanting to be distanced from everybody and not wanting to be a part of that part of the school at all.
One thing, I mean, we'll talk about this more in the characters, but literally when I hadn't watched it, I guess, in a year or two, and I knew that Joey had done something bad, but I'd forgotten the exact details of what it was, and I thought maybe he had somehow not raped her, but sexually assaulted her. But I kind of weirdly like that it's obviously what he did isn't cool, but it's also not illegal. Like, it was consenting sex, and then he behaved badly, but not in any way because otherwise it'd be pretty fucked up if he had done something criminal.
Yeah, I think it's almost more relatable because
Yeah.
it's done this way. This
And-
is probably
yeah.
pretty common.
Yeah.
And
It teaches girls what guys can be like when they want to have sex with you. It teaches guys how basically, if you feel this way, then you're probably not a great person, and this is how it feels for them from the woman's side and stuff like that. But yeah, we'll talk about that more in the characters. Then next scene is the dating candidates, where there's the people who could date Kat, which is just, again, like, it's just a silly throwaway scene, but it just reinforces the fact that everyone is terrified of her. Talking about weird bits, the nerdy one. Do you know which one I'm going to say?
Yeah, the one who just screams when he's
Well, there's him. The other, well, they're all kind of weird. There's the one who just screams, then there's the one who goes, if her and I were the only people left in the world, except for sheep. Oh no, wait, are there sheep?
Yeah, and he looks really hopeful. He's
Yeah.
like, look, where there sheep?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, dude.
Yeah, that was weird, but that's, again, that I think stuff like that, and just whether it's visual things or characters, that's why it's so important right at the beginning with Miss Perky and Cameron. And I think I have it in some of my favorite quotes when he goes, am I in the right room? And I actually thought she said something along the lines of, this is a weird school. But she actually says the opposite. She says, I think you're fine. This is the same as all the schools you've been to. But what she's really saying in that moment, this is not at all like any of the schools you've ever been to. This is a weird school. And these guys exemplify that.
Meanwhile, there's like a spatter of crap
exactly.
across the window when she says it. And you're right. These guys are kind of the vibes of the odd groups.
Well, them, the cowboys, the Rastas. And then and actually, weirdly, Kat and Patrick are kind of they're the people you actually would see in a normal high school, whereas all of these background characters, not really. Actually, I guess all the main cast, Joey, they're all the main characters are a lot less eccentric than everyone else seemingly in the school.
Everyone else you're like, oh yeah, I'd probably hang out with Cameron or Patrick or Kat or whatever. The Cowboys? I don't know.
The sheep fucking guy? No,
The
thank
sheep
you.
fucker.
So then they choose Patrick. They go talk to him. The drill into the French book.
Yeah, the drill in the French book, and there's the biology class, I think, where they first spot him.
Yes,
where he's
when
like
he's playing with the
messing
flame.
around and puts a cigarette out.
So he lights a cigarette in the Bunsen burner, and then his friend takes it and puts it out in the frog. Then they get Joey on board. There's one of my favorite quotes is, we need a backer. What's a backer? Someone stupid with money. And I love that it's the future MBA guy who's saying that.
Yeah.
So that's some little commentary there on entrepreneurship and venture capitalism. So they get Joey on board, penis face.
Yeah. The boy humor.
Yeah, I'm sure that was the boy humor. People were talking about how badly he draws the dick.
It's pretty bad.
It's bad, but I also think that usually when boys draw dicks, they don't draw them from the side. And I also, and so I'm sure,
Correct.
I'm sure they just asked the actor to do it, and he did that. But I also like the idea. I'm gonna overanalyze the penis.
No, it's fine.
I like the idea that he thinks he's this cool guy who's bullying it, but he's actually really shit at drawing penises. So he's, I don't know, that says a lot about him as a character. He's the sort of person who would do it, but he still can't do it right.
I know. I feel like he also kind of almost finishes it too soon, where Michael's still chatting, and he starts kind of trying to shade the balls a bit, and it's like, what is this? What are you doing?
Well, they probably didn't, unless, because marker doesn't come off easily, they probably only did that in 1 or 2 shots, because he was like, let me go scrub my face with an inch of its life.
Yeah.
Then there's the PE class. So this is where we have Bogey Levenstein golfing. And then I think, so the golf ball hits the PE teacher.
Yep.
And then I think it's in another PE class when Bianca's arrow ends up in his butt.
Which is so hilarious. And I love that they don't, you're right, they don't forget about things in this movie. Like little jokes like that, little gags then come up later, and it's brilliant.
I think those, again, I would guess that the golf ball and the arrow was, again, guy humor. I actually think the whole coach character is the stuff was added by the director as the guy humor. So Joey asks Patrick to get Kat. They have the negotiation. I can't believe he starts at $20. I know this was the 90s, but that's still maybe $40 in today's money. But that is so little money.
I was like, what do you mean? And then when he's breaking it down, like, well, I'd have to buy the tickets to the cinema, and then she's gonna want popcorn, and then we're gonna have to do this, and it's like
he's still settled at $50, which
I
is
think it's very low.
Yeah, I agree. He gets it up. I think in the end, I haven't done this, but this could have been quite funny to total up how much money. But well, clearly enough to get a Fender Stratocaster. But
how much are they? How much
I
do they
think
go
those
for?
are definitely hundreds of dollars. I think the idea obviously is that he spent all of it on that. So probably $400 or $500 is what he got in the end. Which, I mean, yeah, he put in a lot of work.
I mean, one bit I do love about that is so I think when Michael first comes to Joey in the canteen, and he said, we've got this guy who's going to do it, and Joey's kind of like, who? And it's like, oh, that guy. He can do it. He's pretty hardcore. He once ate a duck and left nothing but the feet and the beak. And then when Joey goes to Patrick to say hi, he's like, hey, how's it going? I had some great duck last night. And it's like a really weird little attempt to connect. But obviously Patrick's like, what?
Yeah. So I love that you brought that up, because I think on the one hand, all the rumors about them, specifically Patrick, are hilarious.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that on multiple occasions they bring them up in front of them. And the other one that I love is when he's in the bar, because they said about how he sold his liver to buy speakers, and he says, "Should you be drinking alcohol when you haven't got a liver?"
It's so good, the absolute confusion. And he has that lovely moment with Kat where they discuss the rumors that people say.
Yeah, that's the thing. He talked about him being confused because he knows most of these, so he shouldn't be that surprised. Maybe he just hadn't heard that one. But yeah,
it's still a weird moment though when someone comes up to you and it's like,
do you like
confusing.
duck? So yeah, they settle on $50. Another home scene. This is where Kat basically proclaims her "I don't care what people think of me." There's the pearls, which are
the pearls.
The pearls are very important. So I only noticed this when I read it somewhere, that she wears them to prom at the end.
I only just noticed this in this rewatch, and I thought it was such a, because again, the sister relationship is something that makes this movie really special. I have an older sister, and I feel like who's also very into music, and like I feel like that relationship can be so fraught when you're a teenager. But they do it so lovely. They make it kind of grow into this lovely kind of harmonious and like really kind relationship by the end, and the pearls are a beautiful symbol of.
But yeah, so the pearls, also important thing about the pearls is it does, again, more backstory about the mum. I could have sworn the mum was dead, but I realized that she had left. People are debating online, but they say, oh, when they said left, does they mean that metaphorically, as in she died? It's like, no. She left and abandoned them and the dad, which is, again, obviously quite important.
Well, I think this is a really weird bit about it, because the mother, and I kind of have a fun fact on this as well. So the mother, she's left, but yet her jewelry is lying around for the girls to use. It is a confusing thing where you don't know quite why she's not there. And I also thought she was dead. I remembered it that way. But actually, in Shakespeare's Taming of the Shrew, the mother of Bianca and Catherine is only ever mentioned in the opening stage directions. And then she's never mentioned again. She has no lines. She's never in any other scene. And it's unknown as to why that is. Like, maybe Shakespeare wrote her out.
In what way was she mentioned in the beginning?
You know where you have the little stage directions aside, and they'll be like, so-and-so enters the stage, so-and-so arrives on stage. So she's mentioned there once in the opening, never again. And I was like, I don't know. I was wondering, is it some kind of weird thing where they were like, we'll have this like confusing absence of the mother as a nod to the original, but maybe not.
It seems too convenient for it to not be on purpose. So given how there's so many references to Shakespeare in this, that I'm sure it's definitely linked to that. I think it works much better for the story, because it'd be a very different movie if they had a mother.
Yeah, well, the mother would, if there's a second parent, there's someone else, usually in these movies, there's somebody who's softer going, oh, let them out.
Yeah.
So I think it works better having the crazed, paranoid dad.
Yeah, and I think there's a line later on, much later on, when Kat, I think, is getting mad at him and saying, don't stop trying to control me because you can't control your own life. Which is quite mean, but also very true. It obviously is what's happening. Yeah, I'm surprised actually in any of the heartfelt conversation with him at the end that it doesn't come up more. But
it never comes up. It's really weird absence.
Yeah, but I think it's like you say, it must be a reference to the play. So that's
maybe that's what I think, but I don't know.
Then we have Patrick's trying to trying to ask Kat out. I think he did it at first at the soccer practice. Then he does it again at the outside the music store.
He comes up to her and he says, "Hey, girlie."
Yeah.
Which is bizarre.
Yeah, we'll talk about this in the characters, but he's not an experienced womanizer.
Which is really sweet. I mean, the music store one is slightly, what does he say? He says like, "Nice fenders."
Yes, and she was like, "Oh yeah, sorry, talking about the fenders. I think I can get my juice fuzz flowing."
Yeah.
Then she crashes into Joey's car, which is funny.
Iconic, brilliant.
Yeah, then there's a conversation with the dad about that. This is when they mention about the mum leaving. Kat and Bianca have another fight. This is then Pat and Joey talk, and this is where he ups his price to $100 a day. It's like, yeah, you should.
Purely because Joey is also just being a dick. And so he's like, you know what?
Yeah.
Just went up.
Then Cam and Michael approach Patrick in shop class and explain basically their role in it, which Patrick has no qualms about them double crossing whoever. He's like, yeah, I'll just get the money out. But then they set up Bogey's party, which the shot of them throwing the leaflets is one of my favorite shots.
It's also
so cool.
such a random shot because the music with it
and
as
the music's great, but it's so. But I think that's the thing. Again, there's so much. The music is so eclectic. You'll have hardcore sugar pop, heartfelt, and then you'll have Notorious B.I.G. or like this song playing. So yeah, I think. If everything else is quite normal and then you had shots like that, you'd say, what is going on here? But it fits in that it doesn't fit.
I know. I think they love to do that. They love to have something suddenly happen or change a scene and they just cue this mad music. And that hallway shot is one of them. It's great.
Yeah, I feel like I hadn't thought about that shot much until I started thinking when I started thinking myself, one of my favorite shots, that is the first one that came to my mind. I have some that I think are better, but that to me is also just a director having fun. He's like, oh, how cool would this be? And I don't know if that's ever been done in a high school. I'll bet you it definitely was done after this movie because it makes so much sense. It's not just a cool shot. You throw it down and everyone just grabs the leaflets and there you go.
I feel like I know that shot. Like I feel like I've seen it in other stuff since, but I don't know where. But yeah, it's 100% a high school iconic shot.
Then there's the Joey. Which one do you prefer? The two photos that are identical.
Same exact.
I'm sure they deliberately. It is the exact same shot, and they just change the color t-shirt.
I mean, I don't know. I think it's the first moment where you see Bianca be a bit like,
yes,
is this guy for real? Like she it doesn't change anything. She still wants to date him and whatever after this. But it's the first moment where she's like, this is odd.
Yeah, that is such a good point that it's not all of a sudden at the party. It's. I think also we knew that he was an asshole, but how self-centered he is, that becomes very clear here. So the party's been set up. Cam asks Bianca to come to it. There's a weird statue scene. They're sort of under a bridge.
Really random.
Yeah,
and
but
it's like a massive hand.
Yeah, but it's a real place in Seattle. But
well, I'm sure it is. But again, in the context of the movie,
it fits because it's weird.
Yeah.
Then they go into the bedroom to get the intel. I mean, obviously, everything Patrick does is not great, but I feel like going into her bedroom is really crossing a line. And it's funny because at the end, Bianca goes, a girl's room is private.
And he asks to see her room, and then she's like, oh no. And it's like, she's literally going through her sister's like underwear drawer. And it's like, come on, Bianca, what are you doing?
Speaking of underwear drawer, so Elle, as the resident female on today's pod,
the black panties.
Is it true that women only have black panties if they want to have sex?
I mean, I don't think so. I think white panties are kind of, I don't know, more unusual than black panties, surely.
I don't know. I don't have either color panties.
I don't know where Bianca's got this from. I think black is pretty standard. I hate to burst the bowl. Surely like red or something, or something else would be more. Maybe she should have pulled out like a corset or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that would have made a statement. Then there's the bar scene. Don't touch anything. You could get hepatitis.
Yes. Oh my god.
Then they give him the intel. Don't smoke. Yeah. The pretty boy thing with the Jared Leto.
Am I not a pretty boy? You don't think I'm a pretty boy? I love that so much.
And then they tell him to go to Club Skunk, where he can't be seen at Club Skunk.
Yeah, but then this is also weird because I think when he goes, doesn't the bartender kind of?
He knows him, yeah.
They kind of know each other.
Yeah,
so
well, I think that's that. So I noticed. I mean, I think if you asked me, did it happen? I'd always have said, yeah, I remember that. But I really took note of it yesterday when I was rewatching it because it does confirm that outside of the school, he is a cool. I mean, he's getting into bars, he's playing pool with people. He obviously is a cool guy who hangs out in cool places, and so it makes sense that he would know a bartender.
Yeah.
I think he's one of those people that sort of, even though he's still of high school age, he has a non-high school life.
Yeah.
Outside of high school, and a little detail like that just confirms it. But also, he's not embarrassed about being, even though he's embarrassed privately.
Yeah.
Also, I've just realized it is interesting the fact that he says, I can't be seen there, because that's the only time that he talks about how people think about him.
Well, there's one other point where he's getting the tray. They're like talking about how he can get her back, and he's kind of like, don't say stuff like that. Like, people can hear.
That's true.
He has a couple of moments, but then he does know some of the bands, I feel like, when he goes. And maybe he's
no,
just
I think he's done the
them.
research. Yeah,
Okay,
because they've given him her CD collection.
Yeah,
so
he seems really comfortable in that bar when he's there.
No, that's
okay. That's fake.
That's fake.
But he does seem very like comfortable in that space once he is there.
But I think that's it. That's just his natural cool demeanor. But I think on the inside, he's actually really embarrassed to be there. So yeah, and this is actually the first time that she actually, when he talks about the band, liking this band, do you know them? But obviously he knows it's one of her favorites. That's the first time that she looks at him differently. That is the turning point. Again, can you relay as a 17-year-old girl if a guy, good-looking guy, suddenly turned out he liked your favorite obscure band? Would that be a turn on?
Of course. That would be a turn on for you, right? It'd be amazing. I mean, well, I do like that. So yeah, that's when she first looks at him and kind of goes, maybe there's something more.
The guy's equivalent would be if a girl knew everything about your favorite sports team.
The favorite, when she came up, she was like, hey, so basketball. But no, what I also love is he kind of sees her a bit differently there as well, because I think he's kind of seeing this as a job or whatever. And when he gets there and she's dancing with her friend, he has this little lovely moment where he's like, maybe she is kind of cute.
I've put this in my favorite shots. I've got shots of the four main characters. I think they each have one sort of close up on their face at a very important moment, and that's his of seeing her. And this is where you realize, he likes how confident she is and how she's having a good time. And so I've noticed that shot as well. It's very cute.
It's when the music dies and he's just saying, I never saw you look so sexy.
Yeah,
it's
that's
like,
funny.
oh no.
And obviously he's embarrassed there, but he doesn't act embarrassed. He's just sort of like, okay, whatever. Yeah. She smiles, I think. I mean, I'm sure she technically smiled sarcastically or said something joking, but this is the first time she really smiles.
Yeah, it's really cute.
Back at the house, going to the party, wearing the belly.
Yeah, the wearing of the belly. This is one of the best moments in it, and I think the one that you remember so well. And obviously we know that her dad, I don't think we've mentioned it, but he's this gynecologist. Not really.
No, it's not. But he's a doctor who delivers babies. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah. That's very important. For those that have forgotten, the dad is super protective and constantly scared. The reason he doesn't let them out is because he's really scared that they're going to get pregnant. And the reason he's so scared of that is because he deals with teen pregnancies on a daily basis. He's buried in placenta.
Yes, he's up to his elbows, and it's fantastic. But he has this huge pregnancy suit, which he forces Bianca to wear around the living room just to and then I feel like
I love when he says put the suit on and she goes no, and he says don't worry, just for a few minutes, as if she initially thought he was going to make her go out in it.
And the bit where Patrick is like, he's at the door at the same time and he's like, hey, who knocked up
your
sister?
I love that bit.
It's like she's there in this huge thing.
Yeah, I love that bit.
It's so good.
One thing I noted here, and this is true for prom as well, despite their little thing, Kat wasn't going out. Despite the thing at Club Skunk, she was very much happy to stay in. And then it's only for Bianca that she decides to go. Well, so she literally, in whatever her pajamas were, she puts a jacket on and she goes out in that, which is why later on at the party, she's dressed in like this very... not something you would go out in.
Yeah, it's so funny. I mean, he shows up at the door and she's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
She doesn't expect him to come.
Yeah. Well, because, I mean, he asked her out at Club Skunk. She said something and he says, does that mean yes? And she goes, no. Does that mean no? No. Which is a great line. Yeah. Then Cam and Michael prep.
I mean, the only thing about that is how Michael is like a 50-year-old man trapped in a teenager's body.
He looks like his Uncle Milton is what he
looks like his Uncle Milton, yeah.
One thing, though, is because they're wearing shirts and jackets, but Joey's wearing a shirt and a blazer as well. So
yeah, obviously
that's what the cool kids were wearing.
That was the vibe, apparently.
This is probably one of the all-time best high school party scenes in movies in general, because it's so much happens at this party. It is basically up until now, everything has been built up. And now suddenly the dominoes stop. Like people find out things about people. Yeah. People's feelings about people change. And it kind of, obviously a party is a good place, but it kind of proves Bianca's whole point that you need to go to parties to hang out and to feel things in a non-school environment and have conversations and get to know people and see people's true colors. Yeah. See who are the self-absorbed assholes and who are the guys who are going to take care of you when you get a concussion.
Yeah, it's exactly right. Bianca's point is proven.
I'll go through the exact things that happen, but do you want to say more about the party?
About the party? I mean, there's so many great moments here. I feel like Joey's weird modeling moment where he's sat Bianca down and he's like, So I have this, which is swimwear. I have this, which is underwear, and it's the same thing as before, but he's doing it now in person. And she's sitting there again, so bored, kind of wondering, what on earth am I doing? And I think that's when she starts to get quite turned off him.
Yeah.
Which is great. I love that they have a guy wandering around just with shots of tequila on a tray.
Yeah, people.
Which I love.
When I was doing my research, I found this article, and it was basically picking nits in the 10 things I hate about you, and it just really pissed me off because half of them I could have explained.
Yeah.
Like, I think I found it when I was researching the mum, and one of the things they said, "Oh, where is the mum?" It's like, well, no, that's not a nitpick. They say the mum has left, and one of them is, if this was an unplanned party, why is there someone serving shots and a DJ and stuff? And again, this is something like the whole thing. This is a weird, slightly alternative world. It's like, yeah, obviously it's unrealistic that a DJ would just turn up and stuff, but
they also explain it. They show all the kids showing up in this massive crowd. And they haul in the speakers and the DJ stuff. They set it up and they start playing.
But so to me, the guy, I think he's in a white shirt and a tie, but he's not an actual butler. He's clearly just a dude who's poured tequila and who's just coming around serving it to people. Because
I agree. I think he's like, tequila? You want some tequila?
Yeah.
And she just goes straight for it.
So the thing that sets her off is, so she sees Joey, they have their whole banterish confrontation, and then he says to her, she says, "Stay away from my sister," and he says, "I'll stay away from her, but I can't keep her away from me."
Yeah.
And that's what triggers her. And she starts drinking because she goes with Patrick, but then she kind of immediately ditches him, and he's the one who has to run after her.
Yeah,
so she's still very distant from him.
But it's also the first time she tries to tell Bianca. She does kind of take her aside and go, "I have something to tell you," and she sees it with Joey, but
again,
Bianca
I think
really have time for it.
You first times you watch that, you think, "Oh, silly Bianca," but it's not. If you were gonna tell her, you could have told her. You literally had your 3 years. Don't do it now. It's not. It isn't the time.
Yeah.
So. Again, I agree with Bianca about don't be a downer now that she's here. Just a little aside, when Michael danced, I was like, Lord of the Dance!
It's so bizarre. It's like, what are you doing?
But it's so, again, the Uncle Milton thing is, he's just like, you say he's a 50-year-old man.
Yeah.
He's a dad. He's basically a dad.
He's a dad.
Then Cam realizes that Bianca was using him. I think that's his shot. The shot of him, and you can just see his little heart breaking.
His little Joseph Gordon-Levitt's little heart. Yeah, you do see it. I mean, I do think he does feel a little whiny sometimes to me, but in that moment, I think you feel very, very bad for him, because I think we've all been there when it's like you've thought something's going to turn out one way, and then it's taken away from you by some hot stud who's a dickhead.
And I think it's more than just. I mean, like he says later, it's not just that she's not interested, but it's that she used him, because it isn't. Yeah. I think he says, I could have accepted if you didn't want to go out with me, but he had this vision of her as being this pure person. And now he's like, no, you're kind of a shitty person. But then it turns out being honest with a girl, that's what you got to do to get in their pants. Then Bianca basically blows Joey off because she realizes he's boring and self-centered. And then she sees, and then she has her moment where she sees Cameron looking sad, and she kind of realizes what a bitch that she's been, and that actually someone like him who actually cares about her is probably better than the dipshit who is. I think she literally you see Joey in the background doing his modeling thing, and then she looks over and sees him. So the contrast between the two of them, which I wrote this down in themes. This movie is very much about contrast between different types. Both there's who you want to be perceived at versus who you are. But then there's just opposite people, which obviously is the whole beginning thing with the shot of the popular girls, and Kat is kind of contrast between types of people. And here is Joey versus Cameron. And I mean, it's a no-brainer who you should be.
Exactly, it's a no-brainer.
Obviously, it helps that Joseph Gordon-Levitt is super cute.
He's very cute.
If he was someone who looked like Michael who was trying to woo her, it would be.
Hey, what's the hate on Michael? Michael's all right.
Yeah, he's not as cute as Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
No one is.
Exactly. Kat gets drunker and drunker. Her dancing, like you said, was one of your favorite scenes.
So amazing. I mean, I think I've heard that she was offered a choreographer for it and she turned it down. She was like, I can dance. I know how to dance.
I hadn't heard that. What I have heard is that she supposedly got Save the Last Dance because of that scene.
Oh, yes. Okay, yeah, I have heard that. I mean, it's brilliant. I think she does it so well. And it's also, I think Biggie comes on as well.
That's
the
song, that she's dancing to.
Not really in line with a lot of the other music we get in this movie. And she's obviously being very out of character doing her thing. But I think it's brilliant. And I think the moment as well where Bianca comes to the balcony to see what's going on and realizes it's her sister dancing on the table.
Yeah, she wanted her to act like a normal person.
Here she is.
So then she hits her head. Does she get a concussion? Patrick takes her out. This is when he goes into full taking care of her mode.
This is when you see him being a lot more. I mean, I like how at the party you see her feeling a lot more human, where you can tell things do get to her. Because I think before that she's been very, I'm a hard ass, you know, nothing can touch me. But you see she is genuinely quite upset at the party. And then, yeah, you've got Patrick kind of behaving like just a really nice guy, which he hasn't had an opportunity to do yet. He's kind of just been a bit of a, you know, stone
and it
wall.
shows, and it's both talking to her and taking care of her, both things. But even with Cameron, when he comes and he says it's over, that pep talk, the most rushed, most effective pep talk ever.
Yeah.
About, do you like the girl or not?
Yeah,
And then I have in one of my
she
favorite.
Is or she isn't.
It's a great pep talk scene. He has the scene on the swings with Kat, which is a great. Is the shot meant to be that's a reference to Shakespeare as well? The swings and the flowers, and I think.
Maybe, yeah, I guess
it looks a lot like a set of a Shakespeare play.
It does look kind of like a set. I mean, it's also, it's a little overdramatic. Like, I don't know if she has a concussion at this point. I think she's just a bit pissed.
Yeah, she is.
But it is very sweet.
She could, because she does smash her head against the chandelier.
She does smash her head on a chandelier.
So she could. Obviously, it's great because it looks good in the shot, and it's kind of funny when she almost falls down. The swings is not where you should be sitting if you're drunk.
I think it's like twice, right? She nearly falls off the back, and then she kind of slumps against it.
I think, she almost falls off, which is just funny, but then she almost falls asleep to the side. And that's when he gets super like, cat, wake up.
Yeah.
And there's that very cute moment where she looks up at him, and because it's not clear if she was actually falling asleep or if she was taking the piss, but she goes, hey, I was almost like, I'm joking, or it's okay. And she does realize that this is for real. Up until then, she hadn't really noticed what he was doing because she was in her own shit, and that's where she finally takes a moment and realizes, okay, actually this person is just being nice.
This person cares about me. It's a really nice moment, and she has that beautiful little line that's just like, hey, your eyes have a little green in them, which is just really cute.
And then she pukes.
And then she immediately pukes all over his shoes. It's fantastic. I mean, they obviously like leave Bianca behind at this point as well, which I find kind of funny because I think they all went together.
Yes, it's not clear the logistics of who was driving and stuff. One thing I wrote here is that this could have been a time, because I think he asks him, what's up with Joey? Why did he trigger you? Which is a fair question. And she could have told him about the Joey thing at that point. But I like the fact that she didn't tell him, never does as far as we know. And she kept that as, this is something to tell Bianca because it's much more relevant and important for her. And it's obviously a really tender sister moment for that. So I like the fact that they don't do it there.
I think it's nice that he notices that as well. That he notices that Joey's getting under her skin.
Yes.
Because I feel like it's not like Bianca kind of hasn't noticed that, or she hasn't really mentioned it.
Yeah.
So I think that's nice that somebody in the film is able to kind of recognize that.
Yeah, he's very observant.
Emotionally intelligent.
Joey invites her to the after party, and I think she does actually have curfew, but you can tell, but she doesn't want to go.
No.
So she goes, oh no, I'm sorry. But then what does offend her is that Chastity goes, I'll go.
Chastity, which we don't really know Chastity. We don't really know anything about her.
Chastity's a bitch.
But she does just go, I'll go, hey, you passed.
I do think you can argue Chastity's side of things, how she's just this secondary, like her accessory friend, and now she gets time to sign, so it's like, bye bitch. But she's not a nice person either.
She's not a good friend.
No.
And I think this is, again...
No. But I think one of the morals there is the fact that if you... Like, the only reason they're friends is because they're both popular and they're both pretty.
Yeah.
Then we never see them doing anything fun together.
Yeah, we never see them having a real conversation.
Yes, because for example, because Mandela is very much Kat's accessory friend, but we see them have fun and laugh and at the club together, so they have an actual friendship, whereas we never see Chastity and Bianca do anything meaningful. Then Bianca asks Cameron for a ride, so then we have the 2 car scenes, I think. So Bianca asks Cameron for a ride, then we see Kat and Patrick in the car, the kissing scene,
which, oh my gosh, okay, so I love this so much because I feel like, again, this is ahead of its time. Back in the day, I don't know how many people were going, oh, maybe I shouldn't kiss someone where they're really pissed. But he doesn't do it because he wants to, he wants her to remember it. And I think he says later in the movie, oh, we didn't do anything. She wouldn't have remembered it.
Yeah,
that's really nice.
He says that. She obviously does remember it.
She does remember it.
Yeah. Some people theorize that he doesn't do it because he feels guilty about the bet. But
maybe.
No, but he kisses later on after the paintball. He kisses her, so he obviously has no qualm. So I agree that he's doing it because it's not the right thing to do, and I think it's a great example for men to show that you shouldn't do that. One other thing, though, here's another reason why he probably didn't want to kiss her, because she just threw up.
She did just throw up, and on him as well. So you know what? Maybe that's a factor. But I think it's also, she is still a bit drunk. I think she's it's not something she would probably do sober, because she's quite.
She does it. That's the thing. It's not as though it's not as though they gently get closer and then he pulls away. They're having a nice conversation, and she full on closes her eyes and leans into him. So, and I think the way she does it shows that she's still quite drunk.
Yeah.
So yeah, and obviously then they have their much nicer, cute first kiss later on in the paintball.
Which is so
it's
cute.
So nice. Obviously the music does a lot, but it
love
helps. Around the age I saw this, the two people involved were not part of my group of friends. We were at a house party, and the girl at the host had puked, and then this guy was taking care of her, and then later on was just, she was exactly in this state where she was obviously drunk, but she was aware of what she was doing, but they were making out and stuff.
Yeah.
And I just remember it being, and the guy doing it was someone who I knew vaguely from school, and he's not someone I would have expected this from, both the audacity, let alone the level he was sinking to, because he was like, oh, I'm going to make out with, and we were at her house and she'd probably brushed her teeth or whatever, but still, I'm sure it was still there, and they were just, not just a kiss, they were like full on making out. Just remember like being, wow, what?
Yeah, and I really like how, I think a lot of the time Patrick feels quite kind of grown up in this movie. He feels kind of like the classic chivalry thing, which I think is a big part of why he's such like an attractive character. And this is part of that, I think. He kind of is like, no, let's wait till the moment's right.
Yeah, and that shows, even though he's doing it within the framework of the being paid to do it, he obviously has real feelings, and he is acting as he would if there wasn't a bet going on. You kind of just see it. Obviously, he starts off because of that money, but then he's like, well, I'm just doing this and getting paid for it at the same time.
Yeah, I don't think, maybe there's a big debate about this scene. I think he's just being a gentleman.
Yeah, I agree.
I think he's just being great.
Then we have the second car scene, so Cam and Bianca, where very different dynamic, where he basically chews her out and tells her what selfish, horrible person she's been, and she digs it and
she loves it
and kisses him. I don't think either of them. Oh no, I think at one point we see Bianca holding a beer, but she's obviously not drunk or anything.
Yeah, neither of them are really pissed.
No, and Cam was driving, so he probably didn't have anything to drink.
Yeah, and I do love how I don't think anyone really speaks to her in that way and kind of tells her straight, or is that direct with her, and I think she really likes how real he feels. Yeah. Compared to Joey, she's been hanging out with all night, who is just a complete facade of like vanity, Yeah,
so the two sides to this that I've read is either she just likes the fact that he's telling her the truth, because most people don't, but the other thing is the fact that he lists all the things that he's done for her, and she obviously hadn't seen it that way. And she realizes, A, okay, he's telling me the truth, and B, oh yeah, this guy is the opposite of Joey, who, Joey's gone to a lot of trouble, but it's just to bang her.
Joey's gone to financial trouble.
He's spent a lot, he's really financially invested. But that's the thing about Joey that's so crazy, is that he wants to bed her, but he can't even be bothered to be slightly less self-centered. Because, that's the difference between him and Patrick, is that Patrick basically puts in a real effort, even though it's phony at first, and then falls for the girl, whereas Joey can't even be bothered to properly try. He basically just thinks that if logistically it works, that she can go out with him, then she will, and then she'll just basically magically end up in his bed.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work.
And meanwhile, Cameron's there. Sometimes I think the kind of love he has for her at first, I think feels...
it's very... Yeah, but I think
she's so pure.
Yeah, but I think that's the. And again, as a guy, I know that you have your first crush, or girls do this as well. You have your first crush, and then later on you realize that was literally just because the person was pretty, and then whether it's another crush or your first girlfriend or boyfriend, and then you realize actually, obviously, it's great to find your partner attractive, but it's much more important to have a deep, meaningful, like a friendship that becomes a relationship, or things in common and stuff like that. Yeah. And he starts off with just, she's this shiny, pretty thing. I don't think it ever fully changes. It's not like by the end we feel like they have loads in common, but he got to know her, because he's like, actually, he basically says, you're kind of a shitty person.
Yeah.
And then she says, well, I like you now. I was like, you know what? I take back everything I said.
I think it's great though, because I think that's also very teenager, right? And I love how she walks away kind of smiling to herself, and they both have a little look back, and it's really cute.
I think I've written in that I think her acting in that scene is some of her best work, because you can see her go from she's in her own shit, not really realizing the effect she's had on him. I think she knows a little bit, but she's just feeling awkward. Then he tells her, and she's sort of in shock, and the shock kind of turns to being turned on or whatever. And then her smiling and stuff. So yeah, she's really good in that scene. So yes, next day they're in class. They get Mr. Morgan again, asks everyone how their weekend is. People make jokes about Kat.
It's Kat having to face the aftermath of being really drunk at a party, which we've all had to do.
Yeah, she doesn't seem, she obviously doesn't love it, but she doesn't seem that bothered by it. It's not as though, because again, which is good, because she's not supposed to care what anyone thinks about her.
Yeah.
Then the important thing is they give the assignment for the poem. Here, this is a nitpick people have. They say the poem that are you familiar with the poem? The one that the Shakespeare poem that he reads and says you need to do your own version of this.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've definitely heard it at some point before. I have no strong memories of it, but the way that he does it, I think, is amazing and should be the the final authentic version we go with.
Because it's about what she does about basically the dichotomy between loving and hating someone, right?
Yeah.
So the nitpick people have is that is a sonnet, which is obviously a very particular poetic structure. And he says the sentence, do your own, not exactly, but your own version of the sonnet. Now, her poem at the end is not a sonnet.
Okay.
So people say, oh, it's not even a sonnet. It's not clear from what he says whether he's just meant do your own version of this poem as in the same theme, or if he did mean that it needs to be a sonnet as well. Obviously, he doesn't get mad at her for that at the end. So presumably, this is what I was saying about people picking a nit. And I was like, no, I think you can interpret it as him just saying her version of the poem. It doesn't have to be. It was in iambic pentameters, so that's what matters.
I don't think it matters. I think it's like whatever your own version of that is. He didn't say what structure it had to be, and he refused to say what structure because when she's asking questions about it, he just assumes that she's making fun of it.
Yeah. And she's like, get out.
Yeah.
Then Bianca smiles at Cam in the corridor, which is just a cute, very high schooly thing that they're not fully together or anything yet, but obviously that's a big thing in high school. It reminded me of the scene where Michael goes to Joey and basically tries to get on him, and Joey says, why are you doing this? And he says, you say hi to me in the corridor, I'm cool by association, which obviously is a very shallow basic thing. Joey also is such a dipshit that he thinks that this guy's gonna go to all this trouble just for him to say hi to him in the corridor. But it kind of reminded me of that, of like, it's actually a big thing in this high school of her, this pretty girl smiling at Cameron in the publicly.
So I think it's so lovely, and it's not for because he's getting extra cred out of it. It's just that she's not caring as much about what people are going to think of her smiling at this guy who maybe isn't one of
she
the
just
cool
likes
guys.
she just likes him.
Yeah.
And then that we start, so we've met Mandela.
Mandela's her name. Yeah,
it's weird.
Random character. We only hear her name once. We don't really know much about her.
We've seen her before, but this is her storyline with the whole Michael thing and her love of Shakespeare. That's another one. People say, oh, does she actually think that he's William Shakespeare? It's like, no, she's a silly 17-year-old girl that's passionate about him, and there's a guy who quotes Shakespeare to her and then dresses up as Shakespeare. Obviously, that's awesome.
This would work on me so quickly. Like, maybe not that, but someone knows something you like and they come up and they can just quote it. Like, I would be so up for that. Oh my god.
I wish they showed Cam helping Michael with this thing, because he's Michael is such an unsung hero in this because he put so much work into helping Cam, who he's just met. He's the new kid. I guess he needs a friend because he's been kicked out of the future MBAs.
Yeah, he's just lost all his mates. But also he strikes out a lot at the party where he's trying to meet girls. It doesn't really work. And then it feels like with Mandela, it seems to just work with her eventually. But I don't know if she's like, it's not like he's been pining for her or anything like that.
No, that's the first time we've seen this, right? I hadn't thought about the fact. I wonder why they wait this late. The end of the party is about the midpoint of the movie. So usually in movies, the midpoint is where things kind of, imagine it as kind of going up a hill, building everything up, and then going down the hill of everything falling into place, which, as we said, a lot happens at the party that sets in motion the second half of the movie. But I guess you needed him to still be 100% single, Michael, to do stuff like the Lord of the Dance. Because otherwise it would be a bit dodgy if he was doing that while we also knew that he was pining for Mandela.
And I also think we've got enough relationships. We've got enough pining.
Yeah, I think if this movie was made again today, there would be one or more LGBTQ plus characters. And I also think they wouldn't have the Mandela storyline, because this feels very 90s of everyone needs someone.
Yeah.
You need, because even in action movies back then, they would be the secondary character just meets someone. Like everyone needs to be coupled up because it feels unnecessary. I think they're both very charming characters, but it feels unnecessary that these two need to be coupled up.
It's like in Parent Trap when the butlers end up getting together as well as everybody else.
Exactly.
It's like,
that.
this is unnecessary. Yeah, I agree.
Then we're back at the stadium where they basically... Oh, yeah, that's it. The reason he starts talking to Mandela, even though this is the beginning of their thing, is to basically get the lowdown on how Kat's feeling. And then they're like, yeah, confirming she hates you with the... What's the
fire of 1,000 suns.
Exactly, yeah.
Which is not reassuring for Patrick to hear.
Yeah, there's a scene around this time with Mandela and Kat where they talk about going to prom, and Kat basically says, absolutely not. Like she because I guess at this point we haven't been talking. Everyone was talking about the party. No one was talking about prom. Now it's sort of like the second half of the movie. From now on, everyone's focusing on prom, and she makes. Yeah. I mean, we have seen her rip the posters, so we know that she hates prom. Oh, there's that girl who every time she rips it goes, hey,
no, stop! It's so funny.
I've just realized that girl who does that, it's the same one both times. Is she the one who gets drunk and makes out with the guy at the party?
Oh my gosh, she might be. She might be. She has very similar hair.
Yeah, okay. I'll check. I'll edit this out if it's not the case.
Okay.
But... Oh yeah, what do you think of that bit?
I mean, I just thought it was kind of funny.
It's funny, but then if you think about the whole thing about Patrick being a gentleman, not making out with her, not kissing her because she's drunk, the idea of this guy sort of making out. I think the fact that later on in the party it's still going on, it's like, well, at least she's sober enough that she's not off puking somewhere.
Yeah,
and everybody's like, seriously, thank you.
I think it's funny. I think it's like she's up for a kiss. She's looking for someone to kiss.
And
she finds someone who's happy to kiss her for a while.
Very
there
happy.
You go.
And I guess the fact that they're still there means it didn't escalate to something more, which would have been a bit disturbing.
Yeah.
So yeah, we won't overthink that.
Just on the party thing, when Kat and Mandela are talking about it, what I'd like about that is that Kat is kind of speaking to her in a similar way to how she speaks to other characters. So it's not that she hates other people. It's just that that's her delivery. Even with her friends, she's quite like spiky and quite like, this is how I feel, and it shouldn't be like this. It should be like this. And I think Mandela even kind of goes, all right, steady on. But
there's a funny bit. I have it in
cute.
I think it's I have this in the dialogue as well. That when they say about not going to prom, Mandela kind of wants to go, and Kat says, no, we're making a statement. And she goes, oh goody, something new for us.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
And it does show that there is definitely that sort of, again, accessory friend dynamic to them, where she definitely follows Kat. The Kat is the leader in the same way that Chastity follows Bianca, which is quite funny, the mirroring of that. Then the archery, so the shooting of the arrow into the scene of the peak.
It's so funny because it's like archery, this high school is crazy in the amount of stuff they get up to in PE. Archery is a very fancy PE lesson, but yeah, it's just so funny how she's there for ages, she's holding it, and then she goes, she turns around to talk to Joey.
Yeah, because you see the scene coming and you know what's going to happen. You're like, wait, how does this going to end up? And yeah, she just goes all the way.
It's so good.
So again, I think that was probably added by the male director because it's very male
It's
humor.
fantastic.
But yeah, that's Joey asking her out. And this is where she says, oh, I can't because my sister. And he says, I'm taking care of it. But you can see here that she doesn't want to go with him, but she's using that as an excuse. Then Joey ups it to $300 to Patrick. Patrick does try to cut it off, but it's just that extra $100.
I know.
Just twisted his arm. Then I think it's right after this, we see the guitar store scene, which a podcast I listen to, people were making fun of her because she wears the headphones while playing the guitar, which apparently no one does.
Is that not what you do?
Yeah, but again, I just thought, guys, just have a life. You need it for the scene to work. She doesn't have the headphones on. She's going to hear him, and we don't get that cute moment of him. I mean, it is a bit stalkery.
I don't mind it too much. I think he's not following her around. Well, he goes in to start to speak to her, and then he
realizes, why doesn't he speak to her?
I think he's trying to find the right moment.
Right, because he does follow her, because then he follows her to the books.
I guess he follows her a little.
Yeah, he follows her a little bit.
This is like typical where
little bit of mild stalking.
Yeah, some behavior in film comes off so lovely and romantic, and then in real life would be quite stalkerish.
Well, we're going to talk about that with the Serenade, which is coming up very shortly. So then there's I don't know if it's a library or a bookshop, but that's when he does talk to her.
Yeah.
And then I do love the line where he's like, oh, I couldn't find my version of a feminist mystique.
Yeah.
and then I don't know if you notice at the end, she gives him a book, and it is that she does go and finds it. Yeah.
It's so good.
Which were you familiar with that book?
You know what? No, and I know of it. I've never read it. and I feel terrible. There's
Yeah.
a whole roster of like feminist texts, which
it's a but. Yeah, I googled it. I have not read it, but it's considered one of the foundation of one of the waves of feminism.
yeah, I mean, it's mentioned all the time, I feel like.
I love. There's lots of little nods to not of actual like hardcore not hardcore in a bad way, but real feminism references. This is where you know that it's been written by very smart women who feel strongly about this actual thing, because I think they tease the feminism thing, but they never make a joke out of it because
No, it's never the butt of the joke.
Yeah.
And I really like that.
yeah. Then the cafeteria scene, sacrifice yourself at the altar of dignity. Yeah, so I love how Michael says something dorky to Patrick, and Patrick says, "People can hear you talking to me," and then I think that's where Cameron says the sacrifice yourself at the altar of dignity, which is, I think, sounds quite Shakespearean to Patrick as he walks away. And then Michael goes to Cam, people can hear you talk to him like that, almost like he's now protecting his street cred. And then anyway, this sets up the serenade.
The
See.
serenade! I love it so much. I think it's fantastic.
Tell us all your feelings about it.
So what, she's down playing football,
Yes.
as she always is. You see him kind of hand some money to a guy in the corridor.
band.
And then you just see this shot of someone turning up all the volume as high as it can go. And he just starts singing, and he's got like, he's not got like the best voice or anything, but it's like
decent.
really cute, and it's like really decent. He slides down this pole, this
Yeah.
fireman's pole, this kind of thing. And you can see like it's a proper sacrifice on yourself on the altar of dignity moment, because he's willing to like look like an idiot, but he's also doing it in this really charming way where he's singing the song, he's doing these kind of like old school classic dance moves. At some point he starts getting chased around by security,
Which
and kind
were
of
there
messing around
really
with them.
quickly.
Yeah.
I feel like in my school, you would have gotten through the whole song, and then maybe someone would have come up to you and be like, "What the fuck was that?"
You get one teacher who was nearby, like running over, being like, "Hey, stop that!"
But yeah, two security
it's
guards.
so good. And you have the band come in, the whole marching band.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. I guess the band really adds something, because if you didn't have the band, it's kind of I mean, it is all weird, but
It's great.
the band really adds.
The band, because for that song you need the da 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 da. So you have to have someone do that.
Yeah.
And then you can see how
That's her. When I was saying about
confused and bemused she is by it.
I don't even think she's good. I think, confused at first, but then she realizes that it's him and what he's doing. I think for me, that's my favorite shot of her, of like the close up on her with the team behind, that she smiles and she's just, basically exactly the effect that he wants. She's like, what an idiot. I did, but I'm into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's, again, I think the shots on his face are great in that as well. Because obviously, she can't see as far away, but for the audience, he has this beautiful little moments of like singing for a little bit and then like flashing her a smile and then like carrying on. I think his delivery of it is just so great.
The question here, again, for the lady present, obviously this is super charming because it's him to her, and we know that she really likes him, but she's pissed off because she's been embarrassed.
Yeah.
So please explain for us the difference for something like this. What's the line between making something romantic or creepy?
I mean, it depends on how well you know the person, right? Like, if it's someone you're in a relationship with or you're like currently dating and you maybe know them quite well, then great. I think, nice little romantic surprise. I don't know if I would personally want a full marching band and a song and dance like in front of people I know. If you don't really know them that well and you're trying to do a grand gesture to get their attention, I think that's when it gets a little creepy.
Yeah, I think this is, I never did this, but I did a couple of romantic gestures and I was a hopeless romantic teenager that did not go down well. I think the problem is movies sometimes teach you, if you watch something like this and you don't think about it too much, you think that this is a way of not impress. I think, like you say, get attention. But the fact is, if they didn't want to give you that attention, it was probably for a reason.
Maybe if they don't
want, whether it's a romantic gesture to show that you fancy someone, the hope is that deep down they fancied you too, and that this makes them realize, and it sort of breaks the ice. But the problem is, if you do this for someone who doesn't have those feelings for you, that's when it, not necessarily creepy, but definitely not charming.
I think just a little confusing, a little odd, maybe.
Yes.
If you don't really expect it. Like, for example, if someone is looking at this grand gesture and going, do I know that guy?
Yeah.
It's probably creepy.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Or if that person is like, if someone has been rejected, like proper, and in this case, you could say she's rejected him, but clearly they're having a tiff.
Her feelings are hurt.
Yeah,
because
they have they're not dating anything, but they have a thing going on. She has expressed that she likes him, and now she's mad at him, and he's trying to basically reconcile that, which is very different from, like, if he had done this. Here's a question: if he had done this before the party to get her attention,
I think strange. I think weird.
Yeah.
Because again, she doesn't really know who he is, but they do have some moments where they get to bond. Like before this, they get to talk a little bit, and so I think that gives enough of a entranceway to that relationship that he can do something kind of weird and kooky like this.
And he's doing it with the intent purpose of embarrassing himself to make her feel better, which obviously mission accomplished.
Well, unfortunately, he comes off like really cool because it's Heath Ledger. So what can you what can you do?
I was listening one of the podcasts I was listening to with people who love this movie, and one of the women said that she can't watch this scene because of the second degree cringiness. Like she feels so bad for him because it's embarrassing, which I do not get at all, because A, it's just a funny scene, but secondly, he pulls it off so smoothly.
He's great.
He's great.
I don't think it's that embarrassing. I think it achieves everything he needs it to achieve, where it's an apology and it's also putting yourself out there and going, come on, one more chance, which she goes for. So it works.
I think it's one of those things. Some women, there's something goofy about what he's doing, and some women don't like that. They need a man to be very one-dimensionally masculine.
Yes.
And I've actually much later in life, so not talking teenager stuff, but there's someone that I dated who, that she didn't like it when I was being silly. And I remember once I was just like singing badly just the two of us in the car, and she just said, she's like, oh, I really don't want, and to be honest, I feel like as she said it, she realized how bad it was, but she was kind of just being honest. She was like, this doesn't do it for me on a we're supposed to be together thing. And that's when I was like, well, this probably isn't gonna work out.
Well, people have different cringe factors, but I do think being able to be silly with your partner is so important.
Yeah, and I saw obviously, like with me and Sunita, like we both very silly, and it's like the foundation of our relationship. And I don't know, I think if you are a person who doesn't like that in your partner, then as long as you're with someone who just isn't silly, then it's fine. But what's really sad is if it's someone who doesn't want the other person to be silly, and they basically kind of stifle the silliness of the other person.
I think that's awful. I feel like, you want to be able to play around and be an idiot with someone and not feel kind of, I don't know, put down because of it.
Yeah.
And I think they, you get that a bit in the paintballing bit where they're still kind of being idiots and going around, and it's nice.
This is making me realize about the whole thing is that she's embarrassed, right? But her whole thing is that she doesn't get embarrassed because she doesn't care what other people think. But this is actually, I guess that's probably why she's doubly embarrassed. She's embarrassed because of he didn't kiss her back. But then she's probably, I mean, this is kind of what she says at the end. I hate that I don't hate you. She's upset because she's upset. And here he's just putting it all out and just saying, and kind of breaking this ice and says, hey, we don't have to be what everyone wants us to be. And we can, I think exactly what you just said, he's introducing the silliness in the relationship. Because I guess up until this point, they've joked around, but they haven't been silly. Yeah. And so after this, the detention scene.
Well, this is the thing. She likes it, clearly, because she comes back for the detention.
She does the detention, then they have the pedalo and then the paintball, which is all cheesy and corny, but obviously adorable. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's a very important step in their relationship. What do you make out of the detention scene and the flashing?
I mean, I feel like I should probably have more opinions on it. I think because I love this movie so much, I don't really... maybe that's the one moment that I would say, maybe that hasn't aged great. Maybe that's the only thing that I would say maybe I'd change. But I also think it's done in such a funny way that I just don't really mind.
And I think it's not like, to be fair, the teacher responds perfectly. It's the same as if a guy flashed their butt to him. Yeah. I think if he made sort of a ooh face,
he does not do that.
That would be creepy.
And I love it where she says, not that I'm thinking about your package. And he goes, well, let's hope not. Yeah. He's very kind of like...
Yeah, I think he handles it, again, the character and the actor well. Yeah. So this is the ultimate, I was saying about the extra scenes added by the director. The whole thing, interaction with the guy in the pot. You smell like pot. Oh, yes. And then he takes his pot and then he takes the Cheetos. I would bet my life the director, because that's such boy humor talking about pot.
It's gotta be.
But it's completely unnecessary because the scene could literally just start with him walking to detention and her turning up, but they just added that 40 seconds there, which I'm fine with, but it is funny once you hear that context. One of my favorite things with movies that I like is seeing stuff and thinking, why do they do that? And then whether it's you read the source material or you see a behind the scenes interview, you go, oh.
Yeah.
A very random example, but in the first episode we did The Mask of Zorro.
Oh yeah.
You've seen Mask
A
of
great
Zorro.
movie.
So you know the brother's head ends up in alcohol.
Yeah.
And I always thought, I mean, I get it, Captain Love is insane and evil, but it's such a specific thing.
Yeah.
But it's because the real Zorro, there was a real Captain Love, and he actually chopped the Zorro source person's head off and put it on display in public
Oh my god.
in alcohol to kind of prove that he killed him. So it's based on something historically factual.
Which is also like a wild reference.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, you should listen to that episode because there's loads. There's loads of stuff about like sort of how there was the real Zorro that then became this mythical character. Then they wrote books about that then became the silent movies. And then the Mask of Zorro kind of references all of those points. So
Man,
check it out.
such a history.
This is my favorite thing about doing this is learning all of this stuff about whether it's about how they made a movie or the history behind it, or also another thing we talked about how this is based on Taming the Shrew.
Yeah.
It is shocking. Most movies are based on some, and I don't mean this from an IP point of view, but are based on some sort of written previous thing. Even movies that you don't think of. I mean, this one, anyone who has any interest in it knows that it's very much based on Taming of the Shrew, but something like Bicentennial Man is based on some sci-fi stuff. Obviously, the Harry Potter books we've done. But yeah, The Mask of Zorro, I guess it's, all the superhero stuff are based on comic books. But yeah, it's very rare. Stuff like Gone Girl is based on a book.
Yeah.
Most movies are based on whether it's novels, novellas, short stories.
Well, you've also got Lion King, which is, of course, based on Hamlet. And then Lion King 2, which is Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, a lot of, obviously most of Disney, yeah, so those are, yes, those are representations, but then obviously a lot of the, like, Little Mermaid and Snow White and stuff were existed way before
On
Disney.
the Brothers Grimm and
Exactly.
old school.
Have you
ones.
seen Brothers Grimm with Heath Ledger?
No.
Yeah, it's a weird, it's not great, it's not bad, it's a movie about the Brothers Grimm back in the time where they lived, and it's just sort of references all of their tales, and Heath Ledger is one of them. Well, you watch that at some point. You'll love it.
I will watch that. That's next on my list.
Had you seen Casanova?
I've seen bits of it. Is that not got David Tennant in it, though?
Maybe.
I feel like I don't remember it well. I feel like I saw it a very long time ago. Because Knight's Tale I saw ages ago, and I didn't really get it, and then I saw it more recently and loved it.
Yeah.
So.
I think I watched it back then. I think I rewatched it once. Anyway, back to the plot. So we've done the serenade detentions. We talked about they go on the date, the paintballing. Have you ever seen that type of, or heard of that type of paintballing existing?
Never. Well, they just have it in their hand, and
Yeah.
it's like these little balloons of paint, and they just kind of...
It works. I guess it must exist somewhere, but I'd never heard of it, seen it before since. Obviously, it's much more romantic than if they were shooting each other with guns. Yeah, and I think it is a very cool scene. It looks really nice, and it's colorful, and then, and it's so them. Like, this is them being dirty and sober in the sunshine, in the hay,
It's
having
so
the smooch.
nice.
Yeah.
It's so cute, and it's really, I think, romantic as well, because they don't change. What I really like is when they kind of soften up to each other. They don't change as people. Like you say, it's so them. But you just see this lovely kind of like vulnerability and like easygoingness kind of come in, which is really cute.
Yeah, absolutely. Because
no,
they are
fantastic.
both. They clearly are both silly at heart, and they were just looking for the right person they could open up that side of them. Because Kat, even with Mandela, she's still this self-righteous feminist. She can't be silly and self-deprecating. Whereas with him, because he makes fun of her, she makes fun of him. Which brings us to, after that, they go back and forth about the rumors, what's true and what's not.
Yeah.
Also, I've noted here that he could have told her here about what he was doing that year off, but I don't know if he avoids it or if they just change the topic.
Yeah.
Then the prom comes on and they get into the fight about it.
Because she's wondering, she can feel that he's pushing the prom.
Yeah, I wrote here
she's
that his
like,
acting
why?
is so good because he just makes this funny thing with his face that obviously that he's being fake, but he's trying to be like, oh no, nothing and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is actually one actual nitpick because then there's a scene with Bianca in the French lesson where she sort of swears at him in French for
And she
not
can
asking
speak
her
fluent
out.
French.
So, as you know, I grew up in France.
Yes.
And so I'm a fluent French speaker. So, I mean, it's not bad here because they're both Americans learning French. But one of my nitpicks in movies is people who are meant to be French and how bad their French is. So you'll have a character that is meant to be, a French policeman, but either they're from Canada or they're with a Quebec accent, or they just speaking terrible French. So I like to grade the French.
Okay.
So in this case, they are students, so I'm not as though I have them at a high bar, but she barely says what is written in the subtitles. It's really,
Really?
really bad. So I will give her 3 out of 10.
Oh, that's
on the
so
French
funny.
scale.
That's
yeah,
so funny.
It's not just the accent. Her accent is pretty good, but the way she pronounces the words and says it is just really. I mean, it's a funny interaction.
Well, he's a terrible French tutor.
Yeah.
Because he can't speak French either.
Yeah. Well, no, he learned French for her.
He does
remember?
it for her.
And then I love at the end though when he goes merde, which is shit, because when she walks away. But no, my nitpick with this actually was because this is the last time we see them before the prom. He never actually asks her out, and they just go to the prom together. He just turns up at the house.
That's true.
So presumably he did.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't know what she says to him in French, when are you going to ask me out? But then he doesn't know what she's saying because he goes through the book. So it feels like he must have asked her after that, but they never show him asking her
Just
out.
off screen sometimes.
Yeah.
We were spending too much time on Heath's little dance.
Yeah, I guess.
We couldn't spend any time on Joseph Gordon-Levitt's ask out scene.
Then we have Mandela finding her dress and the invitation, which is very cute. Then the dad working out, which I find is a very funny scene with the elastic
Oh
thing
my God.
fly. Again, so weird, but just funny. Then that's where Bianca asks him to go about going to prom.
Yeah.
So I think he still says the rule, so you still can't go. And that's when Bianca and Kat have their heart-to-heart.
Yeah, which I think this is when she's watching The Real World,
Yes.
Seattle. And I think this is really sweet because this is a great, I think, show of how sisters are sometimes. So you can see Kat's now chosen this moment to come in and tell this story to Bianca and explain some of this stuff. And Bianca kind of doesn't really want to hear it because she's been pushed to her limit. She's really upset. And she's also like, well, why didn't you tell me before? Why have you chosen now?
Yeah, I feel like she absorbs the information for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But she says, okay, cool, but that doesn't make everything else okay. And
Yeah.
and it's actually, so I've written this as the best. I mean, obviously it's not the most fun scene, but in terms of drama, it's the best scene of the movie, the most important scene, because she makes the most important point is, well, if you knew this, why didn't you tell me? And then she says, I want you to make your decision for yourself. And she says, no, you don't. Because basically, she doesn't even say this, but she's doing to her what the dad is doing to both of them.
Yeah.
She's oppressing her. She's being overprotective. She doesn't let her learn the lessons for herself. So she's like, I have the worst of both worlds. You don't tell me, so you're not treating me like a grown-up. And you don't allow me to go out and experience things for myself, which
Yeah.
kids got to see the world.
And I think Kat's going in there kind of expecting her to go, oh gosh, I didn't realize. Well, there we go. I won't go after Joey. And she doesn't realize that she's kind of already not really into Joey. It doesn't even really need to be shared at that point. And also, I think Bianca's reaction is way more kind of independent and like, no, I deserve to know and make my own decisions, which I think is great.
Yeah, and it sounds harsh, you think I'm going to make the same mistakes as you, but the fact is, she's not, because she realized, and it's a throwaway line, but she says, well, why were you into Joey? And she goes, because he was like such a babe. And obviously she's mocking it, but the fact is that was the reason she slept with him, and that was why Bianca did initially like Joey, but then within 5 minutes of hanging out with him, she's like, oh yeah, but he's a fucking idiot. So it was a mistake that Kat made, and Bianca wasn't going to repeat it, because yeah, as you say, she wasn't going to prom with him, and she wasn't going to sleep with him. I've realized in this conversation that, yeah, if Joey had pretended to be charming, kind of glad there's none of that in this, is that he is just actually himself, because that is one of the problems. It happens in a lot of rom-coms, and unfortunately in real life, is that, I mean, mostly men, but men will pretend to be a particular type of way to get a girl into bed, and then as soon as they get what they want, they'll turn away. Which is actually interesting that they don't do that, because Kat could have said that. She could have said, oh, he was really nice and we got on and then we slept together and then he ditched me. But she doesn't. She says, no, I just slept with him because he was hot and then I realized I wasn't ready.
But I think that's also why we were saying earlier how it's hard to remember exactly what happened with them. And she never really says it out loud. She kind of does like a little, huh? We did this.
She says they had sex. Then she decided she didn't want to have more sex, as in not on the night, but that she didn't want to have sex again because she wasn't ready. And he dumped her because he wanted to have sex. Then the prom night. There's this, again, I think.
The prom night.
Well, at the house. It starts off with the dad watching the hair thinning commercial.
Oh my gosh, with the powder.
I literally, anytime I see any sort of, like in any context, any sort of stuff to do with basically hiding your boldness. I always think of that scene. And again, I'm pretty sure that was probably and the director added that because it's very boy humory. But I do think it's quite an interesting, maybe it was just added for comic effect, but I do think if you want to analyze it, that it is quite interesting because it does show that the dad, when it comes to stuff that's important to him, like, you know, his own vanity, he can be quite naive as well. That he's like, oh, maybe just spray painting my head is a good idea, in the same way that he's meant to be the, oh, I'm Mr. Reasonable, I'm taking care, I know what's best for everything. And it's like, oh no, you can be a bit silly as well, not in a funny way, but just in a, that's pretty stupid because the ad is so ridiculous.
It's so ridiculous, and he's quite invested in it.
Yeah.
Like, I think Kat walks behind her.
Interesting.
Kat's already left for prom, you know. He's still watching the
because she says, I'm going to prom, and he's like, funny.
He's like, yeah, right, okay, but she actually is.
Yeah, and then when Bianca says, I'm going to prom, he's like, that word's being used a lot right now. Cam turns up, there's a little confrontation, but
he's like, I know every cop in town, bucko.
Yeah, that's a funny one. And then it's also funny later on when Joey comes to pick him up.
Joey still seems to think that he's taking Bianca to prom.
Yeah, well, I mean, when the archery scene, when he says, oh, I don't even think he asks her, but he basically tells her she's going to prom with him, and she says, I can't, and he said, I'm taking care of it. So I guess to him that implied, if I take care of it, then you'll come, and he did take care of it, so he just assumed. I mean, he technically asked her more than Cam did on camera.
As far as we know. But he gets a door shut in his face.
Yeah, which is so funny. Then prom, Kat and Pat sort of reconcile. She apologizes to him, which is heartbreaking. And people have said this is the moment he should have told her the truth.
I mean, earlier, always better, but that was a perfect moment to come clean.
Well, I guess so he's in the wrong for sure. But this is that thing in life. I mean, not that I do not live by this mantra, but it happens a lot in movies where you can see that someone basically is like, oh, but if I tell them, they're going to get really mad at me right now and it's going to ruin whatever moment is happening. Yeah. That's obviously what was happening after the paintball thing, when obviously he should have told her then. Yeah, actually, when do you think it was after the paintball, when he pretended, when she asked him what was in it for you, he should have just said, okay, it started off with this guy giving me this money, but I actually really like you. That
I think so.
She'd have gotten a little bit mad at him.
She would have been a bit mad, but then
by prom, she probably would have gotten over it.
I think so. I think it's the the indignity for her of like how it then comes out. I think is what's really hard.
Yes. I think it's more the fact that she asked him, he lied, and then he let her apologize to him for it. It's so bad.
It's so bad.
That is probably the worst thing he does.
Yeah, I mean, he's very likable. It's very hard to...
Oh, yeah, and you need to, because if he was 15% less Heath Ledger charming, you think, oh, what a dickhead.
Yeah, you would. But somehow we stick with it.
But that thing is, like, people say that as a critique, but the truth is that's real life. You look at people, it can be, obviously, good looks and charm go a long way, but like when you combine them, like people put up with a lot because people are either hot, again, whatever gender, or just charming in general.
Yeah, it's very true.
So then we get prom, Mandela and Shakespeare, cute moment. The Letters by Cleo performance where she comes out. Obviously, she was at the band. They were at the show.
They were at the show, yeah. I mean, I think it's like, that's the one bit which I'm like, I know there's a lot of moments in this that are unbelievable, but which I totally accept because I think in universe for the movie, it's great. That's the one bit where I'm like, what did he go? He went and found her favorite band, and now they're playing at prom.
Well, she said, "Oh, I called in some favors," but I think this is again this mystique that he is actually a cool dude.
He is mysterious. He has connections, clearly.
Maybe we were talking about why did they feel the need to have him say hi to the bartender? Maybe he used the connection there. It's like, hey, can I talk to the promoter and get some stuff?
But I love it. The lead singer comes over and like sings at them for a bit and then walks away.
It's actually
really cute.
It's cute, but it is actually, when you rewatch it, you're like, it's a bit awkward as she just comes out.
A little awkward.
But while she's singing, it's not like she says hi and gives her a hug. Nice to meet you. But I guess the idea is that she's gotten to meet close up her favorite band.
Yeah.
They never say the name Letters by Cleo, so I think they're not meant to be themselves.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if they're an actual band, because they do have the songs obviously listed on Spotify as Letters.
Yeah. I mean, of course they exist in real life, but I wonder if they're meant to be Letters by Cleo in the movie, or if they're meant to be sort of band.
Well, they're supposed to be, what do they call it? Angry girl music is the only way that we hear them referenced as...
Gabrielle Union comes to the prom with Joey and tells Bianca about the bet in the bathroom.
Which is quite savage. It's quite, I mean, it's good that she hears it, but it's very, where these two started out as mates at the start of this film. You really feel like that's totally gone.
Well, I think it just shows what we were saying before, that their relationship was always superficial and transactional, and that as soon as something better came along, Chastity was... I mean, it's clear that Bianca probably wasn't a very good friend to her, but
No.
as a result, she felt no loyalty towards her when the opportunity came. I was going to say, does that make Chastity the sloppy seconds? But Joey is obviously just... Is he just seeing her to sleep with her?
I
But
mean,
she's probably fine with that.
I think he is, but because she says to Bianca he was going to nail you tonight. So obviously that implies that I guess that's what they're going to do tonight. Or
But
I don't know.
she's probably okay with that.
She seems fine with it.
Yeah,
I don't know where her priorities
I
are.
love Gabrielle Union. Like, she's a great actress. I have her biography over here,
wow.
actually. If you're interested in borrowing it,
nice.
I think Sunita's read it. So then we have Kat and Patrick dancing, which is a very cool scene. The revealing the grandpa thing that he was in Milwaukee. Then the Joey confrontation, the bet reveal, punches. Shit hitteth the faneth.
Shit hitteth the fan. It's brilliant. And I love that Bianca gets to have her moment and her revenge.
Yeah, and I specifically love, and I had this in one of my favorite quotes, that she ends with, and this is for me. Like, it's not just about other people. She's doing it for herself because fuck this guy.
Yeah. And he just lies there in the middle of the dance
Yeah,
floor.
yeah, yeah. That last shot that pulls back, like, I think all the main characters have left.
Yeah.
And then everyone goes back to their life. And he's like, oh, yeah. Yeah, they love a long pullback shot.
Oh, they love it.
Oh, and then we have Kat versus Patrick just outside. Oh, yeah, so here's a note I made. You know, usually in movies, you always say, oh, if they had this one conversation, they could have solved everything because there was a misunderstanding. Here they have that confrontation and everything is aired out. And it's not as though there's a detail that's left out. Like, they say everything and there's no misunderstanding and it's just shit.
It's just shit. Well, because it still hurts.
Yeah, of course.
But I love that Bianca also comes out to follow her and check on her.
Yeah, so
this
is my favorite shot of the whole film.
I think I know the one you're gonna say.
It's the shot as she's running away, pulling back. It's just such a cool shot, and it's a pin drop moment where my favorite song comes on, Even Angels Fall.
Yeah.
And it's technically a cool shot, but it's her running away like very Disney
Like
princess,
Cinderella,
with him on the balcony looking off, and Bianca almost coming. She doesn't touch him or anything, but almost coming in a sort of a comforting, as in, it's gonna be okay. They don't say anything, but it's as you say, it's great that she's there. So then we get the back at the house. Bianca and Cameron are going sailing. Bianca and her dad have a nice chat, but I think this is when Kat and the dad have the proper heart to heart, which actually is probably the second best scene after again from a drama point of view than the Bianca one. I have to say, as hopefully a future father, I feel about the dad a lot, like in this movie watching it, is that even though he's completely over the top, it's all coming from a good place. He's not one of those, maybe it's because he's so funny and he's like a cute kind of goofy man, but yeah, he never comes across as a tyrant. He's just just paranoid.
I think this is his only scene where he comes across a lot more normal.
Yes.
But it's also the bit where I think she says a few times, Kat says, he wishes I was like Bianca.
Yeah.
And it turns out that he doesn't think that hasn't come from anywhere. He actually loves that she is the way that she is, and she hopes that she's glad that she's a bit more like her.
Yeah, I think the thing that he wanted her to be more like Bianca is that Bianca's still relying on the dad more, whereas Kat is so independent. And it's true that he wishes she was a bit less independent, because he says, one of my favorite quotes is about, I feel like I'm a spectator in your life.
Yeah, which is so beautiful.
Yeah.
And then, I think a very real feeling for dads,
100%. And then obviously, speaking of beautiful, then we get the 10 Things I Hate About You.
Oh my gosh.
Poem, which we'll talk about more in the quotes. And I also love the fact that it doesn't that's the poem, then the guitar, end of movie. We don't need a 5-minute epilogue.
No need. No need. And I love the way that she delivers that. It's so real.
Yeah, so you put it in your notes, and I heard that as well, that she did it on the first shot. They hadn't scripted her crying, and they were like, well, we got it.
And I love that she starts off great, and then she gets this little wobble, and then it's so good.
Yeah. It makes it so much better knowing that she did it in one go.
And also, I feel like, you know how he does the sacrifice herself on the altar of dignity? I think this is her version of that, of kind of like, okay, well, I'm going to say how I really feel in front of all these classmates.
Yeah, but I think his was very much self-serving, of he was still trying to get her back, whereas I don't think she's even trying to send him a message. I think she's like, I'm just gonna be me, and
I think it's just how she feels.
Yeah, and I love the fact that she decided to. He expressed himself by being goofy with the dancing, but she expressed herself with a Shakespearean poem that she reads in front of everyone, and yeah, it's beautiful. Here's an important question on the story. The big thing is that she says, "I hate that you didn't call," which is just,
I know.
and you can see his face. Do you think? So this happens in a class, and then he gives her the guitar at the end of the day when she goes to her car. Do you think he had already bought the guitar, or does he decide to do it after hearing the poem?
Oh, what a question. I hope that he's bought it before, but I feel like maybe after, because I think after prom it feels like the door is shut, like she doesn't want to speak to him. And maybe that poem is a moment of, okay, no, she really did like me, and yeah, she's really hurt, but maybe there's something that we can do here.
But he knew that she liked him, and he just basically assumes after prom that that's all gone because she knows
she's so
the
mad.
truth. Yeah, but if he genuinely, it bothers me that he didn't call and he didn't try.
Yeah.
I think if he tried at least once after prom. But I guess if he had tried, then she wouldn't need to do the poem. Okay, I throw it all away.
I think
we need the poem to happen.
We need the poem because it's such a beautiful moment.
It is. But so I, like you, hoped, because I think it would have been perfect if he had already bought it for her. But I don't. I think just generally it doesn't feel like he did. It feels like, because you see his face, it's not as though he's like, aha, don't worry, I've already got something sorted. He's realizing, as you say, that she really loved him and that there's a chance. So he goes out and does it. I went super nerd last night. I went frame by frame for the scene to see if there was a clock anywhere, to see if we could see if when the class took place, to see if it was like a.
Oh my god.
In one of the shots, there's a person sat behind one of them whose watch flashes, and it looks as though, obviously it's a prop, so it's not as though the watches are actually. But if you take it literally, the watch looks like it's saying it's at 12 and 6, so it would make it. So it would either be 6 p.m., which obviously it's not, but it probably means that it was 12:30, which is also a weird time to have class, which means it's probably earlier in the day.
I guess so. I mean, it could be towards the end of. No, it's towards the start of the class, isn't it?
Yes. So
yeah.
It has to be. If I'd found an indication that it was later in the day, I would have 100% said it's late in the day. He'd already gotten it. But yes. I think putting the things together, it probably was early in the day, and then he went out and bought the guitar, which is still fine.
It's still fine. I think he's probably a little ashamed as well. So maybe it takes him a minute to like figure out what should I do. Yeah. So
we did it. We got through the plot.
Well, sorry, I'm so sorry.
Oh, no.
There's one more bit.
Oh yeah, the ending.
Well, when he comes to the car, she finds the guitar. He has that great bit around like, well, there's many other instruments I can buy you, and I can see off the next time. But what I did want to point out is in Taming of the Shrew, at the end of her monologue, she also does a monologue at the end of the play, and at the end of it, he says something like, "Come and kiss me, Kate," and obviously at the end of this one. She's still kind of going on a little bit saying, well, you can't do this, can't expect this. And then he just kisses her.
He just kisses
her. And it's really romantic.
So let's just talk about, now that we've gone through it, the big picture on the bet. Is it forgivable?
I think yes. And not just because it's Heath Ledger being really cute. I feel like, I think there's some interesting moments in this as well, some little throwaway lines. Like they call him like trailer boy, I think, at some point. That feels like there's maybe a bit of a class thing here where Joey and also Bianca and Kat are in these like, a little bit fancier. So I think, he's being offered some money to, I don't know, take out some girl, fine. But I think that bit is forgivable. I think the longer the lie goes on and the more that he actually starts to like her, I think that's when it starts to get into dubious territory.
Yeah, he's definitely,
what do you think?
Yeah, so he's definitely in the wrong. I like what you just said about the money. I almost wish there had been a little. I hadn't actually thought about the trailer boy thing, but I wish there had been a bit more emphasis on that he was actually in financial need. Although again, I thought about that, but then if he actually needed the money for something important, then he wouldn't have it to spend on the guitar at the end. But you feel like they could have created more of a he really needs this for something.
He doesn't have much backstory. As a character, he's got a little bit. We've got the story about the granddad. Yeah. We know that he was living with his mum for a bit, I think in Australia.
That's to just explain his accent.
But like we know that his, he's got parents potentially not together, staying with his he seems like he's got a couple of little threads, but we don't get a clear picture of like his backstory.
He needs to pay for beer and pool, so I guess that's
maybe people buy it for him. I don't know.
All right, so we've touched a lot on the cast, but now we'll really focus in on it. We'll start with I'm calling them the secondary adults. So Mr. Morgan, the teacher, he's one of those, I do wish there was more scenes with him. I'd love to see like a spin-off with him because he's just great. He seems like a great teacher. He's a funny guy. He's got the banter with Kat. He gives the shit to Joey.
He's so good. And I feel like he does get a couple of great moments to shine. He gets when he does the poem, the Shakespeare poem, he has, like you say, some great zingers to Joey. But I would love to see more of him.
Yeah. But as I said,
more.
so for all of them, I've looked up kind of what their careers were. And as I said, he unfortunately didn't do much. Conversely, we've got Miss Perky, who obviously is Alison Janney, who is, she did this right before being on The West Wing, which was her big breakout. And she's been in loads of stuff, amongst a few: American Beauty, The Hours, Juno, Spy with Melissa
Oh my God.
McCarthy. Have you seen that?
I think so.
It's not a big role or anything. It's not what she's remembered for, but I love that movie, and she's so funny as this not giving a shit CIA director.
I didn't realize she's been in so much.
Yeah, and she won a Best Supporting Actress Oscar for I, Tonya.
Oh my God, she's in I, Tonya.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Yeah. I feel like she is so great, and she is someone who I was really hoping maybe she comes in at the end. Maybe she has a little moment at prom. Like, maybe she has a funny little something. I don't know.
Yeah, but I feel like the movie's gotten, at that point, the movie's serious, and she is the most ridiculous character.
Silly.
So I'd be happy with one more scene with her somewhere in the middle, but I feel like she's very good to introduce the weirdness at the beginning, and then she checks out. Then the coach, I think he does what is needed, but he seems like the most unnecessary character.
Yeah, he doesn't really have a name, I don't think.
I think he is credited as a name, but I don't think... No, I think Kat probably says his name when she comes into detention. But I guarantee, was added by the director for the whole male humor stuff, because that's what he's there. Then the dad, like we said.
The dad is the best. He's just the best. He's like got so many fantastic lines.
Yeah. In the quotes, I basically chose one where he has like 4 funny things in one conversation, because otherwise every other thing, it's him and Mr. Morgan, I just feel like every other thing they say is just so quotable and hilarious. The dad's been in a bunch of stuff. I wouldn't say he's been unsuccessful, but obviously he hasn't had like a huge... Yeah, I think he's had a very good career. Nothing mind-blowing. But the big thing is... Well, not the big thing. But obviously the fun thing is that he reprised the role in the TV show, which makes sense because he was only 10 years older, which is fine.
Which is so funny.
Yeah. Then the secondary younger characters. So there's Mandela, who we've said... I think it's good to see that Kat has friends, so I'm glad that she's in it. She didn't need a love story, but it is what it is.
I'm glad she has a friend. I feel like, I don't know, it's the bit where she's running around at prom, like, where is my Shakespearean love? It's like, she's fine, but like, I don't know. I think a lot of the best friend characters kind of lack a bit of development.
Yes.
You know, they're a bit more.
Well, she gets more, to be fair, she gets more than Chastity.
She gets way more than Chastity.
Chastity's just a bitch, and that's
Chastity
it.
is there, and then she's a bitch, and then that's it.
Yeah. And a slut, apparently.
And a slut.
So all the actors were between 17 and 19, except for Gabrielle Union.
Oh my God.
Julia Stiles, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, I think were 17.
No way.
I think Heath Ledger was 19. But Gabrielle Union was in her... I think she was 26. She was in her mid-20s when they filmed it. So she's a lot older. And if you did a lineup of them and said which one is actually older, I mean, you'd obviously guess Heath Ledger.
Obviously. But you would never guess Chastity.
No.
I mean, I really thought that they were much older than that.
No,
usually people cast much older,
especially back then in the 90s. I think they're better now, but yeah, it's really, I think it is part of the charm. Not only are they the right age, but they're all fresh talent. So Joseph Gordon-Levitt was the exception. He'd been on a TV show, Third Rock from a Son, so he'd done a couple of things. I think they said he was the first one that they signed on as like a proper talent, and that he was somewhat known in the industry. And then everyone else had either done very small stuff or had done basically nothing. They said Kat and Patrick were unsurprisingly the hardest to cast.
Yeah.
But then apparently Kat just came in. I mean, it does seem like Julia Stiles is very much playing herself.
Yeah.
So, and she was just perfect for it. And then, Patrick Verona, that was the most important one, I think, to cast right.
I think so.
Because like we said, he needed to be so fucking charming to get away with this.
Yeah.
And he just is.
And he just is so charming. I mean, he is in everything he does. But in this, he's just like, I think, really lovely. You get that little thread of like warmth from him as well, which is really so gorgeous.
And here's a weird thing that I didn't expect is that he has his smile, which is so charming. But I think once or twice he did it, not in a bad way, but sort of forced. And I saw the Joker smile there, and I thought, oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
Even now, Dark Knight is one of my top favorite movies. One day we'll do it on here, but one day.
One day.
We're keeping that one for
Oh,
a long time from now. But even now, it's still hard for me to think that is him under
I
all
know.
that makeup.
He's so transformed in that movie. He's so
But
different.
when I saw that sort of him do this smile, like sort of forced smile, I thought, oh wow, look, he did. I saw a glimpse of it, which
Yeah.
I'd never seen before.
Gosh.
But yeah, he is so good. He's so charming. He just steals the spotlight. Apparently everyone knew it when he was on this. One of the guys said to him, I don't know if it's the producer or the director, apparently said to him, this is such a great story because both of the thing, but also how he reacted, said to him, you realize after this you're going to be a huge star and you can be in whatever, which it's great that everyone knew it. It's a no-brainer. But apparently he just didn't care. He said, that's cool, but I want to focus on doing the best job I can today. And
So beautiful.
and it does see. Have you watched his documentary, the I Am Heath Ledger?
No? Oh, where's that?
I think it's on. It came up. So last night I watched that Two Hands, the Australian movie that came out right after this that he may have made before, it was interesting to see him. So probably before this, I think, because he's still good, but you can tell that he's still very new.
Yeah.
Like very young, so he seemed not even that he looks younger, but inexperienced as an actor. And so it is interesting to see, even in this, he obviously had much better direction in this and much better infrastructure around him. This is a Hollywood movie with a big budget and you need to be good. And you can see him mature as an actor from his first couple of movies to something like the first couple of Australian movies to this.
Yeah.
But no, so I think it's called I Am Heath Ledger. This is Heath Ledger. So it's this basically biographical thing about him. Lots of footage because apparently he's one of those that if he had lived, he would have become a director.
Yeah.
And he's very creative. And so he filmed a lot of home video and stuff. So there's a lot of footage of just him chilling and how had this whole tortured artist thing.
I mean,
It's not the best documentary, to be honest, but it is very compelling for anyone who cares about him.
I will definitely be watching that because I feel like the thing I remember really clearly with him is the Oscar acceptance by his family. I think that was for the Joker, right? Yeah. And yeah, it's so emotional, it's so sad, so tragic, but I do just love him in this because he's such he's got so much great work to come, even though we didn't have him for long enough.
Yeah, I think so. Off the top of my head, obviously the highlights. It's interesting how basically these two movies bookend his career.
Yeah.
So this was basically the start, and that was the end because he died before it came out. And then in the middle, he had. We were talking yesterday about how A Knight's Tale, which I think is basically it's basically once he had nailed, because he's very good in this. Don't get me wrong, but it was like the mature version. Like he's a man in the sort of the smooth charm, bit silly. So again, this genre of movie, he did that and in Casanova, which neither of them are as good movies as this overall, but obviously he's great in them. But then he did a bunch of serious stuff. Lords of Dogtown, have you seen that?
No, never heard of it.
Yeah, it's like a drama. He's the leader of this skater gang but I feel like him at his best is either him and stuff like this or stuff like The Dark Knight where he's just going 100%, giving his best. I feel like when he did sort of middling drama stuff, it feels like his talent was wasted because he does have such charisma. Because he obviously Brokeback Mountain is one of the other things. Oh my
gosh, I love him in that. Yeah. I think he's amazing in that.
If you look at his filmography, unfortunately, given that there's only 9 years between these two movies.
Is that it?
Yeah, because this came out in 1999 and this came out Dark Knight came out in 2008. So it's a very tragically short career. Basically 10 years.
Really short.
And he made a lot of stuff, to be fair. But yes, it wasn't all hits. And it just feels like, every movie that's not great that he's in feels like a waste now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then Julia Stiles. So obviously Heath Ledger was the most successful of them all. Except for, leave it at that.
Yeah.
But Julia Stiles was the second. Well, actually, no. Who do you think was more successful? Joseph Gordon-Levitt or Julia Stiles?
I would have said Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, I agree.
But I feel like he's tailed off a bit recently, maybe. He hasn't really...
I think he's one of those that does a lot of different projects.
Yeah.
Like he's on a TV show on Apple recently where he plays a teacher.
Oh, okay.
Which one episode? I didn't love it, so I didn't continue. But he's always... You just know something's going to come out. Like he had the Snowden movie. That wasn't too long ago.
Yeah.
And I feel like he might even have something new. I'm sure he has something in the works. But yeah, let's talk about him then. So his most successful movies have been 500 Days of Summer,
Yeah.
50-50, Inception, pretty big movie.
Inception.
Have you seen Looper?
No.
Oh, it's a time travel one with him and Bruce Willis, which is, I really like it. He was in Lincoln. He was in The Walk. Have you seen this one?
No.
It's the real story of this people who walk on cables.
Oh, okay.
He did that between the two towers of the World Trade Center.
Oh my god.
This guy did it in real life, no ropes, nothing. And there's a really good documentary about it, and then they basically made a movie starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt as the guy. If you like Joseph Gordon-Levitt, I would
Wow.
highly recommend checking it out.
I love him in 500 Days of Summer. I think he's great in that.
Yeah, I haven't rewatched that one in a while, but yeah, I think that one there's some debatable stuff about as a rom-com, but
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah.
but I think he's very good in it. Then the Snowden movie, but my all-time favorite movie with him. Well, I mean, favorite movie with him would be this, but have you ever heard of a movie called Angels in the Outfield?
No.
It's a movie with him. He's even younger than this. He's a child. He's probably like 10. It's one of those movies I watched over and over as a child. I'll do it on this podcast one day, even though no one has seen it. He's in foster care, and I think his mum has died, and his dad is struggling to keep custody of him for legal reasons, which is why he's in foster care. And his dad says to him on one of his visits, very fleeting visit, his dad's a piece of shit, but the kid loves him because he's his dad that he never sees. And he says, well, when can we be I'm actually gonna get
no.
you. He says to him, Dad, when are we gonna be a family? And he says when the Angels win the pennant, which is a baseball team in the movie, and they're terrible. So he takes it literally, and so he makes a wish that the Angels win the pennant, and real angels come down from heaven and help the baseball team become good.
Oh my god.
And he then gets involved, and then there's a whole thing. Danny Glover plays the coach of the team, and basically Joseph Gordon-Levitt becomes friends with him, and I won't spoil the ending,
Yeah.
but it's one of those movies I watch all the time. I rewatched it with Sunita recently. I cry so much. And he's so good in. You think he's cute here and stuff. He's so cute as a 10-year-old boy.
Oh my god. I can't believe I've never heard of it.
I need to compose myself. But yeah, it's I love it. So yeah, he was a very successful child actor. He's been good. And so spoiler, I'm going to ask you at the end what the recommendations are. My recommendation movie to watch is Don John, which is a movie that he wrote, directed, produced, starring him as this. It's over 10 years old now. I want to say 2013. But so this is pre Andrew Tate generation.
Okay.
But it's about him as he's a shitty guy, but without being actually shitty. He watches a lot of porn. He goes out and gets laid all the time. He's one-dimensional, but he's not a bad person, but he's quite simple. And he meets Scarlett Johansson and falls in love with her, but she then tries to change everything about him, and it's just sort of about that. And he plays a completely different character because he's basically playing this New Jersey douchebag. But it's a really good movie, so
Oh my gosh.
that's my recommendation.
Okay.
And since we're talking about the recommendations, you said yours. For the people who like 10 Things I Hate About You, they should watch
A Knight's Tale, which is another great Heath Ledger movie. It feels kind of like this, where you get these odd zany moments, which obviously don't fit with what's happening. But great soundtrack and like just a very lovable movie. I feel like.
I haven't watched it in a while, but I second that. So Julia Stiles, I think she had a more not more than Heath Ledger, but she had a more shooting up career than Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Whereas he started before, but he's basically been a slow churn, and now he's not an A+ lister, but I feel like everyone knows him.
Everyone
been in so
knows who
much
he
stuff.
is,
He's
for
very
sure.
he's very established.
Yeah.
But she had a crazy 3 years. So she was in this in 99, then she was in Down to You in 2000, which I haven't seen, but she starred in a rom-com with Freddie Prinze Jr.
my
And then in
gosh.
2001 she was in Save the Last Dance. And I find it super interesting for things like this because obviously stuff is made, usually filmed a year before at least it comes out. So that means she probably filmed that rom-com even before this came out or as it was coming out. So she would have already gotten it. And then they say she got Save the Last Dance off the dance scene and that. But yeah, she basically was in 3 huge romantic movies in 3 years. Then she was in the Bourne trilogy.
Oh my
She
gosh.
was in all 3 of those. Then she's kind of tailed off after that. She's still active, but nothing huge. She was in Silver Lining Playbooks.
Was she?
Actually, I'd forgotten. I think she's the sister. She's a smaller role.
Oh my god.
She starred in a TV show on HBO and Sky called Riviera a few years ago. I think I watched a full season actually. She's good, but it wasn't amazing. So she's very established. If she did something huge, I feel like she's one of those that one day could just pop up in the Oscar race.
Yeah.
I could definitely see her being nominated for Best Supporting Actress one day.
I'd love to see her popping up at the Oscars. That'd be great.
Yeah, so we haven't talked about Bianca, which kind of tells you everything.
I know, it's a bit harsh.
No, so I always thought she was an afterthought, but on this particular rewatch, I feel like I appreciated her journey a lot more.
Yeah.
Because she changes a lot, and she does it not because people are making her change, but because she experiences things, which is kind of the whole point of the movie. We've obviously talked about the themes and stuff, but yeah, the dynamic between the two of them and how Kat is trying to repress her and not live her life.
Yeah. I totally agree. I think she really comes through when you watch it back now at this point. And I think you do register how unfair a lot of it is on her. And then you respect her for making her own decisions.
Yeah.
And making her own call about Joey and maybe deciding Cameron is the better guy for her. No one has to tell her that. Maybe Cameron tells her that a little bit.
And as I said earlier, I do feel like you have a bit more animosity towards Kat when you realize what she's actually doing to Bianca.
Yeah.
As we said in that particular scene when, I wanted you to find out for yourself, but she didn't because she wasn't letting her. Because people talk a lot about how, I mean, eventually Kat does come around and she does go to the party and she does go to prom to allow her to do it. But that is the thing. I think when you watch it at first, you think that it's really her doing this massive favor for her sister. But the fact is, the dad's rule is draconian, but we forgive him because we know his reasons. So really, it is only fair for Kat to allow her sister to do these things, specifically because she's gone out and she's lived life and she's figured out who she wants to be.
Yeah, and Bianca deserves that chance as well.
Yeah. I think maybe on the acting scale, the top three, I mean, specifically, obviously love Joseph Gordon-Levitt, but he is still outshone by Julia Stiles and Heath Ledger. I mean, even people do say that even Julia Stiles is good, but Heath Ledger is just great. He's just on another planet.
I mean, I think obviously Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Bianca, they don't have as much to do, I guess. You know, these guys get the much more dramatic moments.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Heath Ledger, the best.
I think if anything, Bianca does get a couple of dramatic scenes, and I think Joseph Gordon-Levitt, if any, the only serious scene he gets is that scene in the car, and he's very good in that. I mean, obviously we know he's a great actor, and I do like about Cam that he's quite brave. But the fact is, he gets this new school. He's not worried about making friends and being popular. Michael's the one who attaches him to him. Yeah. And he sees this girl. Obviously, he falls for her for very superficial reasons. But he falls for her. He decides he's going to go for it. He tries. And like Patrick, when he has to put him back on course, like he found something he wanted and he went for it. So I really like him. Yeah. As a character. And I think one of the things I noted about the movie in general, but specifically the characters, is we all know, we've all seen those characters. We've all been one or more of those characters at times, and they pretty much go through every situation of being a high schooler. They do. From being the cool kid that no one actually respects, to being the person that no one wants to talk to fancying someone who doesn't fancy you, to fancying someone who's mad at you, to it really, if you watch it through that lens, you realize I can't think of an experience of high school that, you know, being bullying, everything. They do the whole spectrum of high school life. Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's just one of the beauties, is that everyone can relate to some part of this movie. Yeah. One, we haven't got time for this. What was it? My thing was about, has Patrick Verona actually ever asked a girl out and / courted someone? Because, yeah. He's terrible at it. He's quite clumsy at it. He's so clumsy. And people just... He does make implications that he had sex before, because at one point when they ask him about the rumors, I think he impregnated a Spice Girl. Oh yeah, that's definitely one of them. And then he says, no, not that I know of. But then the rumors are all, Yeah, but that implies that he's had sex with people So maybe he's some kind of, I don't know, you get the impression... Is that the line? Is that the thing? Impregnated a Spice Girl, or slept with a Spice Girl? I think it's impregnated. Yeah, because that almost implies, maybe I did have sex with one, but I didn't impregnate her. Maybe. I feel like he's
his approaches to Cat are not great. The first few tries he has.
Maybe the implication is that obviously he's gorgeous and popular in like the music scene, so that he's experienced with just like hooking up, but he's never actually had to court someone, so that's why he's so clumsy at doing that. And it is true. I mean, like Joey shows, the hot guys can get the girls that are after them, but when it comes to actually pursuing someone properly and charming them, it's Joey doesn't even try, and Patrick tries, and it's hard, and Cameron tries and gets ignored until like he basically, not second choice, but until the main guy that she's interested in blows up. So yeah, it's hard being a boy in high school and getting girls' attention.
It's hard being a boy and trying to flirt with people.
I can relate to that more than anything.
Like flirting in high school is just a nightmare, I think, all around.
So we'll move on to the script. So we've talked about a lot of the lines. I wrote down literally last night, I was just writing every other line.
Honestly, same. It was so hard.
So I had 40 in my notes. I whittled it down to about 19, and I wanted to come up with my 10 favorites. So what I've done is I've got my honorable mentions that I'm just going to say.
Okay.
And if any of them are your favorite, we can pause on them for a second. And otherwise, we're just listing them, and then we'll do our top ones.
Gotcha.
So the script, just a couple words on the script. So it was written by Karen McCullough-Lutz and Kirsten Smith, who I thought this was important. Were 31 and 28 when the movie was made. So they are, obviously they're older than the cast, but they are quite young, and it really does feel like it's written both by women.
Yeah.
Smart women and young women. So that...
It feels very in touch.
It's a great script. I think if it wasn't for Heath Ledger being so great, I'd say the script is the strongest part, but obviously his performance, I think, stands out. Do you know the other movies they wrote?
No, what?
So they were a writing duo, so they always worked together. They also wrote Legally Blonde.
Oh my god!
And She's the Man. But yeah, Legally Blonde is another classic. I'm sure we'll be doing it on here one day.
There's definitely some great lines in that as well, I feel like.
So honorable mentions, best lines. The way you expressed your opinion to Bobby Ridgway. By the way, his testicle retrieval operation went quite well, in case you're interested. I still maintain that he kicked himself in the balls.
It's so good.
It's one of the first conversations with Kat, and I feel like it really tells you who she is.
Yeah, and Miss Perky as well. It's great.
Yeah. I just love that must be Nigel with the brie.
That is one of mine. It's so funny. That must be Nigel with the brie, and it's like.
And you know what? I don't know if I saw this on a list of fun details you hadn't noticed. That Nigel with the brie is actually there. So the door opens and Nigel comes in with a plate of cheese, but it gets pushed over by everyone.
That's amazing. Yeah, I didn't notice that.
You'll notice it next time. This one's really good. I think it's after everything's gone to shit in the middle. We are screwed. Hey, no, I don't want to hear that defeatist attitude. I want to hear you upbeat. We are screwed.
Yeah, that is great. Yeah. That is brilliant.
Then she kissed me. Where? In the car. That's such a smart one. And
that
again,
is really smart.
That one's such a good example of a well-written line, but the way Heath Ledger performs it, if his facial expression is like, "Oh, you idiot!"
Yeah.
Again, that to me implies that he is experienced.
Yeah, you're
sexually.
right. You're right. That is evident.
We've referenced it because it's so good, but the shit hitteth the fan is
fantastic.
Great. Then, this morning I delivered a set of twins on a 15-year-old girl. Do you know what she said? And this also, it's funny, but it does show that Bianca has her head turned on because I'm a crack whore who should have made my sleazy boyfriend wear a condom. So she knows that if she's gonna have sex, she needs to wear a condom. And to be fair, she never expresses any interest in having sex. She just wants to go out with a popular boy. She just wants to go to a party or go on a date.
Exactly.
Live life.
But I do love that.
Yeah. And then it continues with, she said, "I should have listened to my father." She did not. Well, that's what she would have said if she wasn't so doped up.
It's amazing.
And then this one's Bogey's Party. I think you probably have this one in your top 10. Bogey's Party is just a lame excuse for people at our school to drink beer and rub up against each other in a hope of distracting themselves from their pathetic emptiness of their, and then in Chastity and Bianca go, meaningless consumer-driven lives.
Yeah, I do love that. I actually didn't have it. Maybe because it was long.
Yeah, but the point is the ending, the meaningless consumer-driven lives, and I do love the fact that it's like this kind of poking fun at Kat is the fact that she goes on these tirades all the time.
Exactly.
And she is a bit pretentious.
She's a little pretentious, and I think she kind of like recognizes that towards the end and like relaxes a bit.
So, okay, how about you? Mine are yours ranked, or mine are just in chronological order?
I tried to rank them. It was too hard.
Yeah. Okay. Let's just say these are our top 10 in no particular order.
Okay.
Let's just take turns, and my guess is we'll have a lot in common. But you go first.
Okay. I've got Bratwurst. Aren't We the Optimists from Miss Peggy,
That's a good one.
which is right at the start, and another really clever one where it's like it kind of slides by.
Yeah, there's a lot of innuendos, especially with her. So this one is a combo, but I think you'll appreciate it. Is just a minor encounter with the shrew in the parking lot, and then later on when they come to help him, you two are going to help me tame the wild beast. Obviously, it's the taming of the shrew being referenced in the dialogue, so I think that's pretty cool. Your turn.
Well, you've already said it earlier. So I don't know if it counts, but someday you're going to get bitch slapped, and I'm not going to do a thing to stop it. From Mr. Morgan, which is great to Joey.
I think with Mr. Morgan and the dad, there were so many that I think I just put one really good one for each of them. Yeah. Oh, this one, I'm sure you have this one. Am I that transparent? I want you. I need you. Oh baby, oh baby.
Yeah.
That's the one.
That was amazing.
That's the one my female friends used to just quote all the time.
Oh, it's so good. Okay, I have one from quite near the start. I know you can be overwhelmed and you can be underwhelmed, but can you ever just be whelmed? And then Bianca says, I think you can in Europe.
Yeah, I don't even understand what that last bit means.
I don't know.
But it's funny. Yeah, it's a good one.
So good.
Then, so this is a more serious one during the pep talk. Don't let anyone ever make you feel like you don't deserve what you want. This is the line I mentioned earlier. I really liked it on my first rewatch, but then I was thinking about it and I was like, wait, but you're not entitled to what you want. But he doesn't say that. He's saying you don't deserve what you want. You can want something and not get it, because like you can want someone, but the idea that you don't deserve to want someone is true, and people do that all the time. Like someone might have a dream of a job and people make fun of you, and it's like you're allowed to have that dream. No one gets to tell you that. And so it's a great again, it's one of those that you might not really notice it until you analyze it like we're doing, but it's such a great moment by him and it just shows that he's got a good heart.
I know. I think that is where you see that he cares about people in general.
Yes.
And it is such a lovely moment.
But people that he's attached to, and obviously by this point he's formed an attachment to Kat and he's formed an attachment to Cameron.
Because let's not forget, when he first meets Cameron, he puts the drill through his
he almost drills his dick off.
Yeah. So they've come a long way.
Yeah.
I have one from Patrick, which is great. And it's from one of these first meetings with him and Cameron. What is it with this chick? Did she have beer-flavored nipples?
Yeah, that's a great one.
It's so great.
And it's so, as obviously it's funny, but it's such a good line because, and again, this is why I was thinking it was a good script, is that it addresses not holes, but just things that everyone's thinking. And by this point, you would be like, why is this girl so... Anyone who says, why is everyone obsessed with Bianca? Is like, well, Heath Ledger agrees with us. So yeah,
Heath Ledger called it out.
Another Heath Ledger one I have, which is, again, it's a sweet one, is the She's Without.
She's Without.
Which I googled this. It's not a Shakespearean line, but it sounds like it is. And people are speculating on Reddit what it actually means. It's actually really cute. People who are non-English speakers said they've been trying to understand what it means in English because it's the subtitles translate it weirdly. And then they say, okay, they don't understand what She's Without means. So what's your take on what it means?
Well, I feel like I've seen a take on it, which is like if he'd said something like she's without class or she's without whatever, intelligence or whatever, then that's kind of quite a harsh thing to say. But just leaving it at she's without, I think just implies that Kat is great, that he likes Kat. That Kat is with. Yeah.
I think, my interpretation is so Kat is with, and she just has that something special, which isn't for everyone, but it's something for him. And so, she's without that something special.
And it's something that Kat's very aware of, I think, is that people don't like me, people like my sister. So I think him saying that is very touching. Yeah. It's cute. I have one from the dad. No drinking, no drugs, no kissing, no tattoos, no piercings, no ritual animal slaughters of any kind, which is so funny.
And then he tops that off with, no, I'm giving them ideas.
No, I'm giving them ideas. And it's like, it starts off normal and then it just kind of descends into this like insane place.
I'll follow that up with it's a paragraph, but it's got so many good ones from the dad. He goes, kissing her, that's what you think happens. Got news for you. Kissing isn't what keeps me up to my elbows in placenta all day long. What's normal? Those damn Dawson Rivers kids sleeping in each other's beds and whatnot? I just love the fact that he messes up Dawson's Creek. Yeah. And then I didn't watch it, but I'm pretty sure Dawson's Creek is like the most wholesome. I mean, I know they have relationships and stuff, but it's very PG. Keeps going. Got news for ya. I'm down. I've got the 411. You're not going to go out with getting jiggy with some boy. I don't care how dope his ride is.
It's amazing getting jiggy with.
I know. I don't think I even remembered that it was from this. But with Sunita, we have this joke. I was like, oh, so what's the 462? What's the 144? I see something that exists before, but I've got the 411.
It's so brilliant. It's so brilliant. I want to do a Heath one, which I think is great. A Patrick one, I should say. he says, "Are you telling me that I'm not a pretty guy?" in the bar,
yeah,
which
that's
is
really
so
good.
funny.
And that
She's kind of
moment.
into pretty guys.
He's such a pretty guy. He's
Such a
the
pretty
epitome
guy.
of pretty.
How could you ever tell him that he's not a pretty guy?
Then I've got we've talked about it already, you embarrass the girl, sacrifice yourself on the altar of dignity, and even the score.
And I have, okay, the one from the party, which I think we talked about earlier, but hey, your eyes have a little green in them. Which is great. It's so good.
Another one we talked about is, so why didn't you tell me? I wanted to let you make up your own mind about him, which, as we've talked about, she didn't. When I studied English and American literature, we actually did do King Lear. But I did in-depth literary analysis, and one thing we would highlight certain important quotes, and then we would have quotation tests. So basically, we'd do King Lear maybe and highlight 50 things, and we had to know how to explain each one of those lines, and then we'd have a test and they'd give us 10, well, maybe 5, and we had to write a paragraph or 2 explaining it. And some of these lines are just funny, but I love a line that you could basically write a paragraph explaining. And to me, some of them, like She's Without, or, I mean, you could write an entire essay about that. I wanted to let you make up your own mind about him.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I say, there's so many funny lines in this, which is why I think all of mine's are funny lines, but there's a lot of like heart in it as well. Which
I think
is what makes it stick.
The only way I was able to get it down to 10 was basically the ones that were just funny. I put in the honorable mentions, whereas these are either significant for the plot or they're funny and significant for the plot.
Yeah. Do I do one more?
Yeah.
Okay. It's right at the start, and I think it's a nice little thing of Kat and her dad's relationship. And he says, "Hey, made anyone cry today?"
Yeah.
And she goes, "Unfortunately not, but it's only 4:30."
Yeah, that's a really good one.
It's really good.
So I'm down to the last 3. So again, it's in chronological order,
Okay.
but these are for me the 3 biggest ones.
Yeah.
So we'll end with the poem, because best for last.
Oh my
but
God.
Fathers don't like to admit it when their daughters are capable of running their own lives. It means we become spectators. That's just...
It's a dagger through the heart, that.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful.
But it's one of those, it's sad, but he needs to accept it because he can't be like that forever. He does need to and obviously it's so nice because that's the scene where he says you can go to Sarah Lawrence. He sent the down payment.
He sent the down payment already.
So then the final line is, you can't just buy me a guitar every time you screw up, Yeah, I know, but then, there's always drums, bass, and maybe even one day a tambourine.
I love that.
And then the poem.
The poem, which I full on cried.
Really?
When I rewatched it. It's just...
I don't think I cried, but I did get emotional about it. And should I read it?
Yeah, do it.
I hate the way you talk to me and the way you cut your hair. I hate the way you drive my car, and I hate it when you stare. I hate your big dumb combat boots and the way you read my mind. I hate you so much it makes me sick. It even makes me rhyme. I hate it. ... I hate the way you're always right. I hate it when you lie. I hate it when you make me laugh. Even worse, when you make me cry. I hate it when you're not around and the fact that you didn't call. But mostly I hate the way I don't hate you. Not even close. Not even a little bit. Not even at all.
Oh, it's so good.
The one of that page I found, that stupid page that was picking nits, they said, it's not even 10 things, it's 14 things. So at first I thought, have they really gotten that wrong? And so this stupid article, basically, they just counted all the things that she hates. Because she does hate more than 14 things. But for example, so I hate the way you cut your hair. I hate your big dumb combat boots, or obviously things about him. I hate it when you're not around is not about him. And the fact that you didn't call. But mostly I hate the way I don't hate you. That's not about him. So basically she hates 10 things about him and she hates 10 things in general.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is 10. It's clear
10.
10. Fine, we'll list them. The 10 things are the way he cuts the hair, the way he drives her car, the way he stares, the big dumb combat boots, the way he reads her mind, no, that's the other one. I hate you so much it makes me sick. That's just general.
That's general.
That's not a thing. It even makes me rhyme. I hate when you're always right. That's one.
Mm-hmm.
She hates when he lies.
Mm-hmm.
Hates when he makes her laugh. Even more when it makes me cry. I hate it when you're not around. I think that is one.
Okay.
And the fact that you didn't call. Oh, and the fact that you didn't call is a 10th.
Those are the things about him.
Yeah, because then I hate the way I don't hate you, not even a bit. That's not about him. So yeah, it's 10 things.
Oh, it's beautiful. And again, her delivery of that is just so good.
I mean, that's probably the best scene of her entire career.
I know,
Which,
it's amazing.
Which is not a small feat. It's a great scene. So let me finally talk about the director.
Okay.
So the director was Gil Junger. and he'd made a couple of things before and hasn't made anything of real relevance since. He was in his 50s, so he was older but not old when it came out. The only notable thing I come across that he wrote, that he made after this, tried to make after this, he wrote and was supposed to direct a movie called 10 Things I Hate About Life, which is not a sequel. It has no relevance to it other than the title, so he was obviously trying to cash in on that.
No, bizarre. Hate it.
Oh, you're about to hate it so much more. It's about a couple that meets while attempting to commit suicide and fall in love.
No.
But the movie, they filmed like a third of it, but it got cancelled because there was a change in management at the production company, and it stars Evan Rachel Wood, and she got pregnant during production, so they had to stop it, and there was a lawsuit and everything. But yeah, the movie never got finished, but it sounds awful.
I mean, I'm fine with it not being finished. I don't like
but
it.
That's... I feel like he did a good job on this, but the fact that his career never went anywhere, I think, says that he probably wasn't the best director. And then I've seen the interviews with him, and I kind of get a bit of an ick from him. And let me explain why, and this goes back to the scene that you were talking about. He added the guy humor, which I think is fine. He wanted to have a broader appeal. But then he wrote himself into the script. He added another teacher, which he would be, and they filmed those scenes, and you can find them in the behind the scenes, and they are terrible.
Really?
He's terrible. The scenes are terrible. Apparently, though, when they decided they need to cut for time, he did volunteer to have his scenes cut first.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Which is good.
But that scene with Alice and Janney where they're having sex in the corridor or whatever, that's him. So supposedly having sex with the other teacher. He says half jokingly in the behind the scenes, oh, the only reason I made this movie was so that I could make out with Alice and Janney. So he obviously had a massive crush on her, and it seems like he probably made the whole teacher thing so that he could have that scene making out with her. Once you have all of that context, it is kind of icky.
Maybe a little bit, which is weird because I feel like all of the actors are kind of like, they seem like they're having the best time.
Yes.
And they're doing so well.
And all the behind the scenes seems like they genuinely had the best summer of their lives. They all became great friends. They hung out outside of it. But it really feels, again, watching the behind the scenes, that he's this 50-year-old man that was trying to be in on the joke and trying to be cool with them when he wasn't. It doesn't seem like anything scandalous happened, and Alice and Janney seemed like she was fine with it. But like nowadays, I think it would be a bit more controversial.
Potentially.
But I think he did a good job, because especially, I said, when I watched that other Heath Ledger movie, clearly not a great director, and the director here got great performances out of everyone. So,
every single person on that was
absolutely
at their absolute best. Yeah.
And that's true across the board. So the costume designer, the fashion isn't the first thing, but there's actually a lot on YouTube of girls analyzing and using this as the epitome of 90s fashion as a reference point. And I watched this really interesting interview with a costume designer where she talked about building the looks and how she sourced everything. One thing that she said is about how Joseph Gordon-Levitt, his style is very much of the 40s. He's got those dad bowling shirts and stuff. Obviously, Michael is meant to be the old man. And then obviously he talked about Kat's look is very tomboyish.
But also, I feel like that 90s hair, the two little strands at the front, or the braids, she does very good, feminine 90s hair as well.
Yeah, I guess maybe tomboyish is too harsh, but just masculine, feminine. Yeah, so she's not tomboyish, but she's dressing in a, sexy masculine kind of way.
Yeah. And she's got the massive flip-flops, which I love, are front and center in this poster as
well. So apparently, the flip-flops, the sandals, as they refer to them, were just meant to be in one scene, but Julia Stiles loved them and wanted to wear them all the time, and they basically had them in most scenes, but eventually the producer said, can we just have some scenes where she's wearing something else? But yeah, they say the key to her look is having quite baggy trousers, so whether they're the combat trousers or the flares, and then very tight tops. Yeah. And then obviously, I think, apart from where he's wearing the tuxedo, I feel like Patrick Verona is always wearing something similar, as in the monochrome dark t-shirt. I hadn't even noticed it, but apparently he has really shiny trousers at Club Skunk.
I did notice that. It was wild, and it's also it feels a little out of character, because it's like, where did you get these from? Because I know you don't have them lying around.
Yeah, the costume designer says all the other costumes, they had, multiple versions of it because they have to wear them for days and days and days. But that one, they could only find one. The idea there was that he was trying to fit in with the sort of chick crowd.
Gotcha. But they are iconic. They're very sparkly, like long trousers. They're great.
Yeah. And then the pearls, obviously we've talked about the significance. They're iconic.
The pearls are really cute.
One little tidbit is that the dress that Bianca wears for the prom, at the time of doing the home scene, because obviously they don't film these things necessarily in chronological order, the dress wasn't finished, so it wasn't properly fitted. And the costume designer was basically in bits, and she was like, no, we can't shoot this scene. And they said, we're losing the location. We have to shoot it now, or we'll never be able to shoot it. And the director said, it doesn't matter, and like no one will notice. And they went ahead, and she was absolutely mortified.
No.
And then obviously they finished the work, and then she said, in the prom scenes, the dress looks fine. So I listened to this between...
I mean, it looks hilarious.
I listened to this between... I mean, this is something that you or I wouldn't notice. So I figured, that's going to be so... So I listened to this between my two rewatches, so I figured on the final rewatch I would notice it. And so I looked at it, and I'll put pictures of it for the video version of this. Maybe it's me as a guy, I couldn't tell the difference. Apparently it's better fitted in the prom dress, but I thought it was going to look ridiculous, that maybe they tried to cover it up with a jacket or something, but yeah, maybe it's a bit loose. But it's just funny that she's such... But it's just funny to think that actually she was just being such a perfectionist that I can totally get. Director was like, it's fine. Like, we need to shoot this. Let's not perfect get in the way of great.
That is so funny, though.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
It's a fun detail. But the best detail about the production of this is the setting of the high school.
Yeah.
So it's called Stadium High School in real life, but they renamed it Padua High School because of Shakespeare. People cannot believe that this is a real school, but it is. It's a real school in Seattle. So it was built in 1891 it was meant to be a luxury hotel to resemble a French chateau, hence why it looks that way. But then during construction in 1893, there was a financial crash. It was the worst financial crash in American history until the Great Depression in the 30s. So the company that was building it basically either went under or they lost all their money and they pulled the plug on the project. So it was vacant and then became a storage facility. And then there was a fire 5 years later, which basically gutted the entire insides.
Gosh.
Then they took parts of it away to go build other buildings. So there are train stations nearby that still exist that have been built with bricks that were taken away from this building. Then in 1904, the school district bought it. So 13 years after it was originally built, the school district bought it. Again, at this point, it's probably just this ruin. Not ruin.
Husk.
Yeah. And turned it into a school. So they basically turned the whole inside into a school. And apparently, as you can, because I don't know if the inside exterior shots are shot in it or if they're filmed on they're probably filmed on a soundstage, but the inside looks like an actual normal high school. It's very different. It's not what you would expect from the outside, but they obviously kept the whole look.
Wow.
From the outside. It was opened in 1906, and then they added the stadium in 1910.
Okay.
And it was a huge, because it is a bowl, and that's why it's called Stadium High School, because it's so iconic. But obviously it was a huge job to excavate all that earth and turn it into that. But yeah, so the 1910, so for the last 100+ years it's been a fully functioning, and it's a public school. I thought, surely it's some fancy private school. No, so that means if you just happen to live in that school district, you could go there.
Oh my God, that would be so cool to go to the same school.
Yeah, so if anyone wants more information, there's a Wikipedia article, which is where I got all the information from, and there's a list of all the notable alumni. Now, I tried to find some really fun ones, but none, they were like, this NFL player, this musician, people who all have their own Wikipedia articles. But the only one I could find that would mean something to myself or you is Irv Robbins was there in 1935. He's the co-founder of Baskin-Robbins.
Oh my God!
Yeah. So we owe this school not only 10 Things I Hate About You, but also Baskin-Robbins.
Baskin-Robbins. We owe the school a lot.
Yeah, we do. So that brings me to favorite shots. Have you listed those?
I've got a couple of shots that I felt like were unusual. Like, for example, when Cameron and Michael are kind of planning, I think it happens at the party and again at the quad, the camera kind of like spins around them in this very slow way.
Really?
Yeah, and it's kind of like I don't know, it's kind of unusual. And then I think as well, I definitely did note down the staircase one.
Yeah.
Which I feel like I should let you talk about.
Yeah, I just think it looks cool. The music is perfectly going with it. It's a cool idea.
Yeah.
It's important for the plot because a lot of people do look at the party, as we said, as the center of the movie and very important. And yeah, And also the fact that they're throwing the fake leaflets is like adds an element to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that one. I love the shot of the motorbike going to the stadium because it just is a first proper look at the stadium. So I think
That
it's a
one
cool
is
shot.
wild. Yeah, I mean, I think that one, the moment in it is just wild.
Yeah.
But I do love that. Yeah, the Disney princess run down the stairs in that shot after prom. Is
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. So that is my favorite one.
Yeah.
Because it's very Disney. The costumes are great. The location, I don't even know where they filmed the prom. I don't know, is it meant to be happening in the school?
No, it looks like some kind of hall. Some kind
Yeah,
of like
but it
town
looks
hall type
amazing.
thing.
Again, it looks
Yeah.
like it could be in Cinderella, whatever. And so yeah, it's beautiful and it's so meaningful and it's so sad. So that's definitely my favorite one. The others are in no particular order. But yeah, the stadium, the leaflets. Then we've done Patrick looking at Kat in the club we talked about. Cam heartbroken at the party, realizing Bianca used him. Then Bianca realizing Joey's lame while posing, and then turning and looking at Cameron, realizing the error of her ways. And then Kat smiling during the serenade. Those are my 4 kind of people. But then probably my second favorite is the party arrival, which I hadn't realized until here is one shot. So basically, one shot starts on all the nerds with the cigars, and he says something super patronizing to one of them. What is it right before the doorbell rings?
He's saying, "Don't touch anything in here, guys." Oh, what did I tell you?
So same shot, doorbell rings. That must be Nigel with the brie. Turns towards the door, and then everyone floods in, and then the music changes from classical music to whatever the party music is, and it's just such a cool, fun shot.
Yeah, I do love that. That whole section is great.
Actually, I realized I said the prom one is my favorite. I mean, the rooftop shot.
Is that at the very end when I want you to want me? That is
amazing.
great. That's
Apparently,
bizarre.
they didn't have permission to film on the roof, and they just
It
did
doesn't
it.
look like they should be filmed. Every time I see it, I'm like, how did they get the drums up there? How did they?
Yeah, and then you can see they have chords and stuff to kind of make sure they don't fall and stuff. But it is, so at first I thought it was one shot from the kiss to that, but it's not. They do that, they pull back, and then it fades to the beginning of the shot. But then it is one shot. They must have filmed with a helicopter.
It must have been a
They
helicopter.
where they go around it a couple of times, and then they pull back. But yeah,
It's great.
it's not as though it wouldn't be as good a movie with that, but stuff like that is just so iconic.
It's the little cherry on the cake.
Yeah, and
moments.
it's just such a good way to end.
Yeah.
I also put my worst shot is
Ooh.
the lamest thing. It's probably, I think it's after they have the heart-to-heart between Bianca and Kat, and she's sitting in the tire moping, and she looks off at her, and it looks so lame.
It is really
because she's
lame.
not 10, she's a 16-year-old girl or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's just such a cliche, and I also feel like, obviously the whole point is Kat, this is where Kat has a realization that I'm gonna go to prom for her. She didn't need to be looking at her. She could have just been in her room thinking about it and be like, okay, I was being a bit of a bitch. So yeah, or just something else, not her in a tire like a 6-year-old.
She does look like a 6-year-old. She's wearing like this long skirt
Yes,
and these
it's-
like high
it's-
socks. And it's
yeah.
like, what is going on
Yeah,
here?
that was a bad choice. But you know what? Nothing can be perfect. Then music. So
Music.
epic soundtrack.
Amazing.
I think it's I'm not gonna say it's one of the best soundtracks, but this is one of the most. This is one of my favorite soundtracks, and a lot of '90s movies had really good. Like I love the American Pie soundtracks, and like this is I've been listening to it the last week or so to prep myself for this. But you can just listen to the soundtrack, and obviously it's very eclectic, as we said. It could have pop, it can have ballads. It's got George Clinton and Biggie on it as well.
Biggie.
But yeah, it's a great soundtrack.
It's fantastic. Yeah, I feel like there's definitely, I don't know, I have some favorites from it.
Go ahead.
But okay, well, I feel like the opening song is so great.
Yeah.
1 Week, Bare Naked Ladies.
Which I'm pretty sure is in American Pie as well, which is one of my other favorites.
It's so emblematic of that time, I feel like, and I think of the high school vibe as well. It really fits that.
And then so that as well, and then it cuts to Bad Reputation,
Which I love. It's Joan Jett and the Black Hearts.
What's another movie that you associate that song with?
Oh, I don't know.
Shrek.
Oh my gosh, it is in Shrek. It's in Shrek.
Yeah, I think it's the one where Fiona beats everyone up, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh my god.
Which
that's
came
so
out only a
funny.
couple of years after. So yeah, those are two bangers.
That's so funny.
Then there's actually obviously there's music throughout. And that's it. You listen to the soundtrack and you notice there are some songs that are only on for about 10, 20
like
seconds.
only the little intro of it also.
So I think it's fun to listen to the soundtrack and then rewatch the movie. Like, oh yeah, they only played that there. Because then there's a while without anything notable. But yeah, Sexy Boy by Air is the Leaflets one. We got really like weird
iconic
sounding.
song, like
Yeah.
weird song, but like, yeah, it feels a little out of place maybe, but with the slow motion leaflets falling,
Yeah.
it's like great.
Then I next have Cat Dancing to Hypnotize by
Yeah,
Notorious
I had that
B.I.G.
one. I had that one.
The next one I have is the Paintball Day FNT by
Yes,
Semi.
Semisonic. That's what I wrote as well because it's just so beautiful. It's so cute. It's so romantic.
It's just perfect for
Lovely.
that. And then my favorite song of it is of the whole movie, and it's super cheesy, but I'm okay with that. I'm a cheesy guy, especially when it comes to music. Is Even Angels Fall, which they
Yeah.
only play a little. I think they start it at the beginning of at the beginning. They play the beginning at one bit, and then I think they
Yeah.
leave the room, and it kind of goes. I think that's it. Maybe they stop playing it in the prom,
Yeah.
and then they leave the room so it dies away. But then it comes back at that epic
when
shot
she's running down
when
the
she's
stairs.
running away, and yeah.
It's so good there.
That was a song I used to listen to a lot because of this movie, but I just
Really?
I just really related to it because it's all about unrequited love.
Yeah, it is. I love that, and I also love we just talked about it, but Want You to Want Me.
Yeah,
That's
that's
such
my
a good
last
song.
one.
And you have to also mention Heath Ledger's Can't Take My Eyes Off You.
Yes,
I had to have that one of my favorite songs because it was just it's so good.
So we have gone through every aspect of 10 Things I Hate About You in minute detail, I believe. So let's try and just summarize why we love this movie so much.
It's gonna be hard to like bring everything in, but I really like how this feels like a real coming of age movie for like most of the characters in it. I think all of them are going through,
Joey.
except for Joey.
He's gonna start a cult one day.
Joey just starts a cult, but he I love the way that it's about coming to understand what's important to you and what kind of person do you want to be, which I think I said at the start. But I think for all of them, the relationships they have with each other feel really, really real. And then that kind of movement throughout the movie towards, I don't know, a softer, kinder, and more vulnerable place as well. I think everyone starts this movie with quite big emotions being quite kind of hard. And then by the time we're at the end, everything feels like everyone's got to know themselves a little bit more, which I really, really like.
I guess one way of looking at it is that each of them are sort of a stereotype of one
Yeah.
thing. They're like very one-dimensional, but then by the end, because they've all rubbed off on each other, they've all become quite multi-dimensional. Like
Yeah.
Cameron and Michael have become a little more confident and probably a little bit cooler because Patrick has rubbed off on them, and he's become sillier because they've rubbed off on him. And obviously, him and Julia Stiles are much more in touch with their emotions and stuff. And I think even her, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like some young women might watch it and think that Kat at the beginning has all her shit together because she's such an aspiring, strong feminist and stuff. But
Yeah.
the movie does also say that life isn't all about being in fights with everyone and always, they do point out the fact, one of the things about her not wanting to do what people expect almost gets to the point of not doing stuff for the purpose of not doing what people expect and
Yeah.
actually not doing stuff because that's it. She does stuff because she doesn't want to do what people expect, but she doesn't do stuff because she wants to.
Yeah, and it makes her really isolated. And then by the end of the movie, you can see that she's grown through that. She's much more open. She's having a much better time as a result.
Yeah.
I love the way that develops. And I also think, like I said earlier, I have an older sister who, I grew up thinking was like super cool, super hardcore, played a lot of music, and was a very kind of strong personality who I never thought let anything get to her. But that's something that I like about this movie, that it really humanizes her as well, where you can see that she does care what people think. It does hurt her feelings. But then you still get to this lovely resolution at the end where she can see that vulnerability as a strength rather than something bad.
Yeah. And so I've written has a heart, tells a compelling story, and then
Yeah.
we can all relate to some or all the characters in some way. Like I said, every high school stereotype, but yeah, we can all relate to something someone was going through during. And then obviously great acting, well made, and just so funny. There's a dramatic version of this movie that would be, I'm sure it would be good and compelling, but we wouldn't be rewatching it because you need to have the humor and the weirdness and the quirkiness that brings you back over and over. And as we've experienced, you need a movie. This is one of the reasons I love doing this podcast, is because it forces me to deep dive and stuff. Honestly, I've watched this movie dozens of times, and I still now know it. I know it 100 times better than I knew it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But there needs to be a hook to bring you in to really analyze a movie, whether it's a award-winning movie that's and you appreciate how well the production design is, or here analyzing the interpersonal relationship evolution. But you need it to be funny, because otherwise you're not going to torture yourself by watching 12 times a movie that's not actually entertaining just because there's a good message buried somewhere deep inside.
100%. And like we said before, you know, the funny points, the things you remember, and then the heart part of it is what you end up kind of coming back for and kind of feeling again. It's so sweet.
Yeah. So, where would you rank this all time?
I think it's so difficult, but I think for rom-coms, I can do for rom-coms. I think, it's so tough. I think maybe number 2 or number 3. I think Notting Hill is still, I think, one of my favorite rom-coms. I think the Richard Curtis movies are such a guilty pleasure of mine.
Yeah, I appreciate those a lot, but it's not in my top 100. But I think that's what the beauty of this one is, that it does appeal. It's obviously very appealing to girls, but I think it appealed more to me because I said I see the Cameron side, and I do feel like it does shine a light on the book. I mean, you see Hugh Grant's side of it, but it is still more about Julia Roberts and
it's
Notting
more
Hill.
so. But I love the I think what those movies do so wonderfully is that kind of like easygoing London existence where you're strolling around having a coffee and like the markets, and you're having dinner at your friend's townhouse, and like, you know, that's not really what London is for all of us. But it does that fantasy very well.
Yeah,
and
whereas here we can relate to the high school, we all went through it.
Yeah, exactly.
So 2 or 3, and you don't want to, people sometimes can say top 20, top 50. Do you want to venture where it would be in your all time?
I would say definitely top 15.
Okay.
For sure. I feel like I'd need to write them all down.
Yeah, no, but it's thing. Not everyone's a weirdo like me who actually has a list. So
well, where is it for you? Yeah.
Number 28.
Number 28.
Number 28 all time.
That feels pretty good.
Yeah, it is. The movies that are above it are. I think that's it. Is that it's great and I love it. I mean, number 28 is excellent, but then obviously there's just certain movies that have, you know, something like The Dark Knight is much higher, and I think that's fair.
I think that's fair, you know.
But yeah, this is my number 28 of all time, and it's my number 1 rom-com. This list is fluid, so theoretically, if I saw something that enters my top 10, like a new movie, that could bump this down to top 29. But yeah,
number 1 rom-com.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah, we don't just do any movies on this podcast.
No.
I have to feel strongly about it. All right, well, having said that, Elle, we've been going for a really long time, but I've had an amazing time chatting with you about this movie that we obviously feel both really strongly about. So
it's been so nice, and thank you so much for having me.
Well, hopefully we'll see you again one day soon.
Absolutely. Oh my god.
And so thank you all for joining us. If you've been listening to this on a podcast platform, you can also watch the video versions on Spotify and YouTube, and make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for extra bonus content. For example, right now we're going to draft our box set of top high school movies, so you can only find that on YouTube. So make sure to subscribe there and follow us wherever you get your podcasts, and follow us on Instagram and TikTok for excerpts from these episodes and bonus content and so much more. And don't forget to tune in for new episodes on the last Thursday of every month.